Hey guys. This is part 12 of What If Naruto Was Azula's Bodyguard. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 33. Riots and Getting Out. Location, Fire Nation. Line them up for the warden. One of the warden's guards ordered. The prisoners were moved into a line. They were 8 in all, Hakoda included. Both Sokka and Azula made their way up to the gondola tower. Dad, Sokka said as he saw his father standing in the line. His hopes were rising. Maybe this trip would be worth it after all. We don't have all day here, Sokka, Azula told him pointedly. They needed to move into sight. Right. They both moved forward towards the guards. Excuse us coming through. The warden wants us over there. Sorry, Sokka told the other guards, and they made their way into the line. Welcome to the Boiling Rock, the warden said to the prisoners, walking down the line. I'm sure you've all heard the horrible rumors about our little island. Well, I just want to tell you that they don't have to be true, as long as you do everything I say. He stopped in front of Hakoda. Look me in the eye when I'm talking to you. No, Jay answered, moving his eyes away. Oh? You'd rather take a look at my shoes? Then take a look. He lifted his foot and brought it down on the handcuffs, making Hakoda fall to the ground. I know exactly who you are, Hakoda of the Water Tribe. So strong-willed, but don't worry, we'll get rid of that in time. Now look me in the eye. The captured Water Tribe chief raised his head and looked him in the eye. See? Isn't that better? He turned to look at the other prisoners. You will all do as I say or pay the price. You will all. He was interrupted when Hakoda lifted one of his hands and tripped him, making him fall to the ground. It also made both Sokka and Azula sniggered behind covered mouths. Are you okay, sir? One of the guards asked him. I'm fine, he told them, standing up. Bring those prisoners to the railing. I have something to show them. Everyone went over to the railing, even the guards. What they saw made Azula tighten her grip on the rail. Chained to a whipping post, without a shirt, was Naruto. I assume you know who that man down there is, the warden said. For those of you who don't, he was Naruto, paragon of the Fire Nation and bodyguard to Princess Azula. Now he is a traitor and a prisoner. A few days ago, he had attacked one of my guards. This is his punishment. The guard standing next to Naruto bent his fire into the shape of a whip. And then, to the horror of the prisoners as well as Azula and Sokka, he whipped Naruto's back, 10 times. Each time the whip slapped across his back, it shuddered in response. He had nothing to bite down on, so everyone could hear his screams of pain. The only bright side was they were high up, and couldn't smell the flesh burn. Azula began to tremble in rage as she watched. Mai's uncle or not, I am going to kill the warden, she thought to herself. When the whipping was done, Naruto's chains were unshackled and he fell to the ground unconscious. None of the guards bothered to catch him as he fell. They just dragged him away. That was the new punishment for disobedient prisoners, with direct permission from the Fire Lord. I trust you gentlemen understand the ramifications of that? The warden asked the prisoners before looking at one of the guards. Get them out of my sight, he ordered before walking away. As the guards led the prisoners away, Sokka and Azula slipped away. Hakoda laid on the bedding with his head between his hands. When he heard the door open, he looked up and saw a guard standing against the door. Thank goodness you're okay, the guard said. He took a fighting stance. If you take one step closer, you'll see just how okay I am, he threatened. Dad, it's me. The guard lifted his visor, showing his blue eyes. Hakoda instantly knew who those eyes belonged to. Sokka, my son, he cried, hugging his son, who had taken off the helmet. You know, Sokka, you should be more careful with that guard outfit on. I almost punched you in the gut. Yeah, I ran into that problem earlier, his son admitted sheepishly. Arg! Naruto screamed. That hurts. He was laying on his slab of a bed, hoping the metal would help cool his back, even if a little. But it didn't, leaving him in a lot of pain. Well, of course it's going to hurt, the QB said. You were whipped on your back with fire. Be glad I began helping your healing rate right after the whipping. Well, it still hurts. I just dulled the pain, I didn't kill it completely. I think we both know you would rather deal with the dull pain rather than the full amount. He didn't say anything, preferring to lay on his back. When he heard the door opening, he turned his eyes onto it. What have I done now? Did I fart in the warden's general direction and he didn't like it? He asked the guard. The guard didn't say anything. He just stood at the door, looking at him. Please tell me they did not send a mute guard here to annoy me. Again, the guard didn't say anything. He walked over to the bedding and knelt beside it. Then, to his surprise, the guard kissed him fiercely on the lips. He then realized that he was a she. And he knew this particular she, which was why after a stunned moment, he returned the kiss. Hello, Azula, he greeted her after they broke away. How could you tell? She asked. You were the one who kissed me, he told her pointedly with a weak smile. I don't think I could forget those lips. The warden stood in front of a door. Opening it, he walked into the room. Chit Sang was bound to a chair. Are you comfortable, Chit Sang? He asked the prisoner. If you're trying to get me to talk, forget it. Chit Sang told him hotly. I'm not a squealer. He walked past the chair. Chit Sang, I only ask you if you were comfortable. Well, yeah, actually I am pretty comfortable. That got him kicked to the ground. Are you still comfortable? The warden asked him. No. I know you and your cronies are not smart enough to come up with that little escape plan. So you're going to tell me who is. He walked out of the cell, leaving Chit Sang alone with 2 guards. So, where's Bateau? Sokka asked his father as he double-checked the silt in the door, making sure they were alone. Where's everyone else from the invasion? The others are being held at a prison near the Fire Nation Palace, Hakoda told him as he sat down against the wall. They singled me out as their leader and sent me here. But before I left, I met some young women who said they knew you, the Ashinama fighters. You mean the Kyoshi warriors? He asked for clarification. That's right. He brightened up when he heard that. Their leader Suki is here and she's gonna escape with us. Good, we'll need all the help we can get. And you know Prince Zuko and Princess Azula? The son and daughter of the Fire Lord? I don't know them, but I know of them. Well, they're here too. Sounds like 2 major problems, his father commented. Actually, they're on our side now. Hakoda looked at his son with a raised eyebrow. I kinda had the same reaction. After all they did, I knew it would be hard to trust them, but I gave them the benefit of doubt. And I was right. They've proven themselves and I never would have found you without their help. His explanation earned him a nod from his father. So, do you have a plan? We had one, but some of the other prisoners got involved and ruined it. I don't know if there's another way off this island. Sokka, there's no prison in the world that can hold 2 water tribe geniuses, he told his son, patting his back. Then we better find 2. His dad laughed, and he gave a nervous chuckle. We might get lucky, if Azula pulls through, he remarked. What do you mean? Do you remember the prisoner you saw when you came in? His face turned grim. Unfortunately, yes, I do. What he saw, he would never wish on anyone. There were less cruel ways to punish someone. Azula came with us to break him out. With any luck, she's in his cell right now, talking to him. Azula could not help but wince as she saw Naruto move slowly back into the bedding after their brief reunion. She could still smell the burned odor, courtesy of the warden's punishment. You know, I was expecting you guys a few days later, Naruto admitted. What? She said. She was sitting on the floor and holding his hand. She was a little afraid to hold anything else, as it might send him into more waves of pain. You've just been fire-whipped, and you can still make a joke? Not joking. Why do you think I had Ozai send me here? I knew that Sokka would come here looking for his dad. And how would you know that? He smiled. You'd be surprised at how much reports I used to receive from Admiral-chan, especially involving Water Tribe raiders, before all of this happened. He mentioned 2 of the Water Tribe leaders, Hakoda and Bateau, and how their latest invention forced the crew of one ship to leave, due to the stench that entered it. Anyways, one of my last orders was to have him be sent here. That's why I expected you guys a few days later. You would have been able to get all of us out at the same time. He let out a soft groan as he involuntarily let himself feel the pain. I just wasn't expecting the whipping. She looked at him intently. Naruto, you shouldn't be able to talk, much less complain about it. If anything, he should have been restrained to prevent himself from writhing in agony and cause more pain. It's okay. I heal quickly. No one heals that quickly, she protested. I do, she sighed. This is one of your secrets, isn't it? He just nodded his agreement. You're going to have to tell me them someday. Maybe, but it's not today. His answer made her groan and take off her helmet. I guess I didn't imagine you cutting your hair. He reached and brushed his fingers across the edges of her hair. I kinda like it. Naruto, about that night, she began to say. I'm sorry, he told her, stopping her before she could continue. That caught her by surprise. What? I said I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that to you. You don't need to apologize, it was my fault. No, it wasn't. It was mine. I could tell you that I did to keep you safe, but that's not the entire truth. Then what is? I was scared, he admitted. If she had heard before surprised her, this one stunned her. You were scared? He nodded. I was scared of you rejecting me. That had been one of the many thoughts raging through his mind that night, but it was one of the foremost ones. I would have never had done that. But I didn't know that. All I had were my past experiences, and they're not something I like to remember. 3 years ago, there was this girl I liked. He gave a bitter chuckle. Like is probably too easy a word. I had a huge crush on her. But she thought I was an idiot and kept hitting me every time I came near her. Who was it? She demanded in a growl. Relax, you haven't met her. He chuckled, which turned into a hiss of pain. You know the funny thing? I kept coming back and she still kept punching my lights out. That, and she had eyes for someone else. When I came here, I had brought the memories of her rejections with me. So I was afraid that you would reject me. But I didn't. And I'm glad. Because I love you too, he told her, looking straight into her eyes. I have never met a woman who can keep me on my toes as much as you. And I don't know anyone else who can be as irritating as you, she replied with a mock scowl. He laughed, and then rose his head up to kiss her. She didn't resist. Sokka walked through the ground level of the prison, making sure he was alone. He approached one cell and lifted his visor. Zuko, are you there? He asked. I'm here, Zuko answered from inside the cell, his eyes appearing through the slit. I just got done talking to my dad. We came up with an escape plan together. What are you doing here? A voice from behind the disguised tribesman asked. Turning around and lowering his visor, he saw 2 guards standing on the staircase. I was just telling this dirty lowlife what I think of him, he answered, trying to sound gruff. Well, you'll have to do that later. He's coming with us. Why? Because we have orders straight from the warden, that's why. The second guard told him, sounding a little annoyed. Could I just get 10 more seconds to rough him up a bit? He asked, punching his own fist to emphasize his point. Fine, 10 seconds. He walked into the cell and closed the door. Take that, and this. They heard him shout, the sounds of punching filling the air and Zuko grunting. Newbie, the first guard remarked. Inside the cell, Zuko was holding his bedding in front of him, while Sokka punched it. We have a new plan, but it's gonna need a big distraction, Sokka whispered as he punched the bedding. Be in the yard in 1 hour. They heard the cell door opening, so he grabbed Zuko and tried to strangle him. All right, that's enough, the first guard said, separating the two. They grabbed Zuko and led him out of the cell. What are you doing? Where are you taking me? He asked them. They brought him to another cell, which only had a chair, and tossed him in. I didn't do anything wrong. Come on, Zuko, familiar voice told him. We all know that's a lie. My, he said in shock as he saw his ex-girlfriend in the corner of the room. However, his mind only had one thought. Oh shit. Sokka went to the lounge and sat at a table. A few minutes later, Azula sat down across from him. Any luck? He asked her. I found him, she answered. He actually expected us a few days later. I don't know whether I should be surprised about that kind of stuff anymore or not. It seemed like the blonde knew him better than he knew himself. Just take it in stride, that's what I do. Can you get him into the yard in 1 hour? Yes. Good to know. He got up from the table and walked away. The warden walked back to the room where Chit Sang was and opened the door. How is he? He asked. The 2 guards were holding the chair, with Chit Sang in it, upside down, making all the blood rush to his head. I think he's ready to talk, one of the guards said. They slammed the chair down into its upright position. As the blood left his head, Chit Sang started gasping to get his breath back, sweating all the while. The warden walked up behind him. Have you had enough time to think about what I asked? He asked him. Yes, Chit Sang answered. And? You're right, there was another person involved in the escape plan. Who? It's a guy disguised as a prison guard. Only he's not a prison guard. He's the mastermind. He came up with the plan, he explained. The warden patted his head and walked out of the room, satisfied with what he heard. How did you know I was here? Zuko asked Mai as he sat in the chair, his shoulders set in a slump. He just knew this wasn't going to be a pleasant conversation. Because I know you so well, she answered, leaning against the wall. But, how? The warden's my uncle, you idiot. The truth is, I guess I don't know you. She showed him the letter that he had left her. All I get is a letter? You could have at least looked me in the eye when you ripped out my heart. I didn't mean to. You didn't mean to? Dear Mai, I'm sorry that you have to find out this way, but I'm leaving. She read the letter to him. Stop, he told her. This isn't about you. This is about the Fire Nation. Thanks, Zuko, that makes me feel all better. She threw the letter at him, hitting him in the head. Mai, I never wanted to hurt you, he told her, getting out of the chair and facing her. I'm sure Azula didn't either, but we have to do this to save our country. Save it? You two are betraying your country. That's not how I see it. Do the two of you not realize what you did to me entirely? She asked him. Because of you, we were forced to practically become Yao Jing's slaves. We can't do anything against her because our families will get hurt. She's beaten Ty Lee half to death on more than one occasion. What? He asked, his face showing his shock. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Of course you didn't, you and Azula were too busy being traitors, Mai said scathingly. Suki went through her forms, practicing her moves. It was the only way she could stay fit and keep herself ready. She had lifted her foot into a kick when the door opened and Sokka came in. Sokka, what's going on? She asked. I don't have much time, he told her as he kept an eye out through the slit on the door. If I'm seen with you, the guards might think something's up. I just talked to my dad. That's great. Yeah, and we're escaping today, on the gondola. What? My dad and I came up with the plan together. We're gonna commandeer the gondola and we're gonna take a hostage with us so they won't cut the lines. He explained to her. We'll never make to the gondola, she protested. There are too many guards. My dad already thought of that. He said we'll need a distraction. That's why we're going to start a prison riot. Okay, let's say by some miracle this all works and we make it onto the gondola. The warden will still just cut the lines, even if we have a captive, she reminded him. Not if the warden is the captive. They both heard a guard coming. I have to go, he told her. She gave him a quick hug. I'll find you before we start the riot. He snuck out of the cell and started to walk away. Hey you, a guard behind him called out. The warden wants to see you. He turned around and saw the two guards. Why? He asked. I don't know, I didn't ask. Maybe I can schedule another time with him? How's tomorrow? He asked as he tried to walk away, but two different guards grabbed him. He wants to see you, now. They took him up onto the gondola platform. Other guards were waiting in a line there. Put him in the line-up, the warden ordered. The guards did as they were told. One of you is an imposter who thought could fool me, he told the line. But now, that person is going to be in a lot of trouble. A pair of guards brought Chit Sang forward. Who is it? Chit Sang looked at the line of guards. The silence was making Sokka nervous. He tried to remain calm but sweat was coming off his brow. That's him, Warden, Chit Sang finally spoke, pointing at the guard who tried to harass him. He's the imposter. What? I am not, the guard said. The warden just gave an evil smile and walked away. He's lying. He's a liar, the guard shouted as he was dragged away. Chit Sang just turned his gaze onto Sokka, who breathed a sigh of relief. The warden stood in front of the traitor guard, who was strapped to the same chair Chit Sang was. I'm telling you, it wasn't me, the guard protested. Save your breath, he told him as he walked up to him and got in his face. I know you two were working together. You threw Chit Sang in the very cooler they used to escape. It was all part of your plan. That was just a coincidence. The door opened and someone walked in. Sir, there's someone to see you, one of the guards told him. Who told you to interrupt me? He demanded, whirling around to look at the door. Stunned to see who it was, he and the two guards, who weren't traitors, hit the floor and bowed their heads. I did, Yao Jing said, standing at the door. Tai Li stood behind, looking uncomfortable. If one were to look closely at the acrobat, they could see the remains of bruising on her face. Princess Yao Jing, the warden greeted her. It is an honor to welcome you to the Fire Nation's most exemplary prison. He stood up. I didn't realize you were coming. Who is this? She asked, looking at the traitor guard. He was a guard who was involved in a recent and feeble escape attempt. It wasn't me, the guard protested. Quiet, you, ordered the warden. You're wasting your time, Yao Jing told him, turning around and walking away. That's not one of them. How do you know? Because I'm a people person, she answered. She walked out of the cell and then through the prison. You know, he might actually be the traitor, Tai Li said as she walked behind the new princess of the Fire Nation. She whirled around and slapped her hard across the face, sending her to the ground. Did I tell you to talk? No, I was just offering my opinion, she said as she tried to stand up. She was slapped again and fell to the floor. Did I want your opinion? No, I'm sorry, the acrobat offered. There were tears forming in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Yao Jing said nothing in reply. She just turned around and kept walking. Sokka walked into the control room for the cell doors, beginning the plan. Hey, I just got orders, he told the guard in charge of the controls. Let the prisoners out into the yard. But we're in the middle of lockdown, the guard protested. Oh, okay, I'll just go tell the warden you said that. He started to walk away, making the guard nervous. I'm sure he'll be glad to hear you undermining his authority. What was your name again? He asked the guard. Wait, don't tell the warden, the guard pleaded. I'm just a little confused. Hey, I'm confused too. But the warden's in a bad mood and irrational. So if you asked me, it's best not to question it, and just do what he says. Yeah, you're right. He took hold of the controls. We're letting them out, he announced, pulling the controls down and opening the cells. Naruto heard the cell door open. There we are, he thought as he stood up from the bed. The pain had dulled enough that he could walk, if he forced himself, and he had to force himself. He walked out of the cell, stumbling a little bit. Azula was waiting for him outside the cell. She caught him as he almost fell. Do you need some help? She asked him. Yeah, I do. I might heal fast, but the pain is still there. She took his hand, put it around her shoulder, and helped him walk out into the yard. Her eyes scanned the walled interior. It didn't take long to find Sokka. He was already with his father and the Kyoshi warrior. Where are Azula and Naruto? Sokka asked, looking around. Right here, she said, walking up to them with Naruto. If the yard wasn't full of prisoners, the sight of a guard helping a prisoner walk would have looked a little odd. Hey, Sokka, Naruto greeted the tribesman. It's been a while. And you must be his father, he said, turning to Hakoda. You did a hell of a job raising him, a hell of a job. Thank you, Hakoda replied. He was a little unsure how to talk to a man who he had never met before and yet, still had been his enemy. That is, until they both ended up here. And you must be Suki, the paragon of the Earth Kingdom. I'm sorry we're meeting in a place like this, the blonde apologized. How do you know I'm a paragon? She asked, surprised. I read the report Azula had written about capturing you and I saw the part about how the leader was wearing a paragon medallion. Out of curiosity, do you still have it? Yes, I do, but it wasn't easy, she answered with a small blush on her cheeks. Oh. He realized what the blush meant. Then I won't ask how you did it. Thank you? No one needed to know how she did it. Quite frankly, she was still embarrassed to have done it. Hey Naruto, is the paragon of the air nomads still alive? Sokka asked him curiously. Yes, she is. But the only time you'll meet her when she feels like it or if I call in a favor. But back to more important issues, you're going to break us out, right? Sokka nodded. Alright, but I won't be a lot of help. What? Why not? He asked. He would have thought the paragon of the Fire Nation would have helped out in any way he could to get out. You saw the whipping I got this morning. I heal quickly, but right now, it's taking all of my willpower not to cruel up and whimper like a baby from the dull throb of pain I have. You're not kidding, are you? The man looked fine to him. But if he were to look a little closer, he could see that the blonde's whole body was trying hard to visibly tremble. He shook his head. Plus, I like being held by a beautiful lady. Azula blushed when she heard that comment. She hadn't been called a beautiful lady often, and meant it. Sokka felt a hand grab his shoulder. Hey you! Chit-Sang said as he stood behind him. You're lucky I didn't rat you out. But my generosity comes with a price. I know you're planning another escape attempt, and I want in. Actually, we're trying to escape right now, the tribesman told him. But we need a riot. You wouldn't happen to know how to start one, would you? A prison riot? Please. He walked to another prisoner, grabbed him, and lifted him up onto his shoulders. Naruto brought his fingers to his lips and blew a loud piercing whistle, getting every prisoner's attention. Hey! Called out Chit-Sang, holding the prisoner high. Riot! That set everyone off. Fists were flying, and so was the fire. Impressive, Hakoda admitted. Meanwhile, the warden was standing at the railing, watching the riot go. Who let these prisoners into the yard? He demanded. This is supposed to be a lockdown. The guard who did open the cells heard and decided to become one with the wall behind him. He also decided to not be near the warden. Ma'am, there's a riot going on, a guard told Mai as he stood in front of the door. I'm here to protect you. I don't need any protection, she replied. Believe me, she doesn't, Zuko assured the guard. He couldn't have tried to hide the pride in his voice if he tried. I'm sorry, but I'm under direct orders from your uncle to make sure nothing happens, the guard said. At that point, something happened. Zuko bent fire at the guard's feet, and when he backed away, he ran for the door. Get off of me! Mai told the guard as he stood in front of her, tossing him off. She ran for the door, but he had slammed it shut and locked it. They looked at each other through the slit in the door before he turned away and ran into the yard. Hey Zuko, how have you been? Naruto asked nonchalantly. He threw a guard that tried to grab him into the ground. I've been decent, he answered with the same nonchalance. Good, we're all here, Sokka said. Now all we need to do is grab the warden and get to the gondolas. And how do we do that? The scarred dragon asked him. I'm not sure. Please tell me he's kidding. Please tell he's kidding. The Kyuubi begged from within Naruto's mind. I don't think he is, Naruto replied. Besides, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of improvisation. In case you forgot. It's usually when you improvise that things go to whack. But that's when I'm improvising, he challenged. This is somebody else improvising. Although, he was willing to admit he didn't improvise as much as he used to these days. I thought you thought this through, Zuko told Sokka. I thought you told me it's okay not to think everything through, Sokka replied, his voice reaching a higher octave. Maybe not everything, but this is kinda important. He rubbed his forehead. You know, it's pretty funny when it's not me, Naruto silently commented. I know, the fox replied. And I get a front row seat with you. Shut up. Hey, fellas, Chit-Sang said, getting everyone's attention. I think your girlfriend's taking care of it. They looked in the same direction he was looking. Suki was charging towards the masses, but instead of pushing herself through, she decided to run across both guards' and prisoners' heads. Not only did she get the scenic route, she was able to get to the tower much more quickly. She quickly climbed the side of the tower and leapt away from it, her feet somehow grabbing a pipe. She swung herself up onto the railing. She quickly and expertly knocked aside two guards before leaping at the wall and scaling it. Jumping onto the level as the warden, she kicked the feet from underneath a guard and grabbed the warden, stopping him and holding her other hand in a fist. You wouldn't dare, the warden said. She swung his arm around to his back, grabbed the other one and tied them together. She also grabbed his headpiece, turned around and used it as a gag. Sorry, warden, she told him. You're my prisoner now. She slammed him against the wall just as the others joined her. We've got the warden, she announced. Now let's get out of here. That's some girl, Hakoda commented as they got their breathing back. Tell me about it, Sokka replied. Can we do this later, people? Azula asked. We are on a schedule here. She's right, Zuko agreed. Let's get moving. They ran up the tower until they reached the top. From there, they made their way to the gondola platform. We're almost there, Suki announced. We noticed, Azula replied sarcastically. Azula, be nice, Naruto told her. The nearby guards saw them and bent fireballs at them. Zuko pushed Sokka aside and essentially swatted the fireballs away. More guards arrived to help. Back off, the exiled prince ordered. We have the warden. The guards saw the warden on Chit-sang and stepped aside. Let's go. They walked quickly but carefully past the guards. Once they were safely past, they ran to the gondola car. Everyone in, ordered Suki as she opened the door. Everyone got in. Azula laid Naruto against the side of the car. Zuko pushed the handle down, starting up the gondola. Once he was sure that it was moving, he kicked the handle a few times, trying to break it. Seeing that the guards were coming, he gave it one final kick, which broke it. He ran to the gondola and made a running leap for it. Sokka held his hand and he grabbed it. What are you doing? Sokka asked him as he pulled him into the car. I'm making it so they can't stop us, he answered. Way to think ahead. We are on our way, Suki announced. Hakoda was keeping an eye out the window. Wait, he said, getting their attention. What's that? He pointed at what he was talking about. Both Azula and Zuko looked at what he was pointing. That's a problem, Zuko stated. Standing on the platform, with the guards bowing to her, was Yao Jing and Ty Lee. It's our half-sister, and Ty Lee? Azula explained, confused at what her friend was doing there. She's not here willingly, Azula, he reassured her. But before she could ask what he meant, they saw movement. Yao Jing had grabbed a pair of handcuffs off one of the guards. While Ty Lee leapt up onto the line and ran across it like a tightrope, she used her fire bending to boost her up to the line. She attached the handcuffs to the line and used her fire bending to move forward. This is the rematch I've been waiting for, Suki declared as she watched Ty Lee get closer. The acrobat had taken her and the rest of the Kyoshi warriors down within a matter of minutes, giggling and smiling while she did it. Suki, wait, Zuko said to her. Don't try to beat her, try to force her into the car. What? She couldn't believe what she had just heard come out of his mouth. We need to get her away from Yao Jing. Once that happens, she'll be safe. I'll help, Azula said. Both she and Suki climbed on top of the car. Sokka and Zuko joined them with the tribesman drawing his jin. As the two approached the car, Ty Lee leapt to the front, facing Azula and Suki. Ty Lee, we can help you, Azula told her. The acrobat said nothing in return. She just looked back at Yao Jing once and then started attacking. Meanwhile, Yao Jing landed in front of Zuko and Sokka. She took her stance and swept a low wall of fire at the two. Zuko broke at his own fire bending. Ty Lee attacked both Suki and Azula. Suki blocked her strikes while Azula tried to stop the acrobat from attacking. She dodged both of them by jumping to the edge and swung through the car, to the other side before anyone could stop her. She leapt back onto the top and continued to fight. Ty Lee, please stop, Azula begged. We want to get you away from Yao Jing. She didn't listen. Meanwhile, Zuko and Sokka were fighting in tandem against Yao Jing. She would bend fire at them, which Zuko would block and Sokka would move in to swing his jin at her. At one point they forced her off the top of the car, but she had grabbed the edge and swung back up with a backflip, shooting fire from her feet, which all parties dodged. In the car, the warden was trying to free himself from his bonds. There's the warden, a guard with a telescope announced. I see him. He finally got free from his bonds and ran towards the window. Cut the line, he shouted, undoing his gag. Chit-sang pulled him back in, but the damage had already been done. He wants us to cut the line, the guard told the others. But if we cut the line, there's no way he'll survive, a second guard protested. He knows that. They jammed the cable wheel, suddenly stopping the gondola, making it shake. Ty Lee lost her footing and slid down to where Yao Jing was standing. It looked like she was about to go over the edge when Yao Jing stopped her by putting her foot on her back. Sokka slid towards the edge and would have fallen off had Zuko not grabbed his hand and pulled him back up. Yao Jing looked at the gondola station and saw two of the guards trying to saw through the line. It seems they're cutting the line, she noted. She also saw the other gondola coming down, the car filled with guards. Then I guess it's time to leave. She grabbed Ty Lee by the back of her shirt and, to the horror of Zuko and Azula, threw her at the other gondola. Ty Lee! Screamed the two siblings. Thankfully, she grabbed the edge of the other car and safely climbed up to the top. Goodbye, Zuko, Azula, she told her half-siblings, fire-bending herself over to the other car. She watched in triumph as they stood there, hanging in the air. They're cutting the line. The gondola's about to go, announced Zuko as he and the others got back into the car. I hope this thing floats, Hakoda remarked as he looked down at the water below. Well, it probably can, but we still won't like the outcome, Naruto said in reply. You're not helping, Naruto, Sokka told him. Meanwhile, the guards kept sawing away at the line. They were about to cut through it when they were suddenly pinned against the wall behind them with knives. What are you doing? One of the guards demanded. Saving my friends and the jerk who dumped me, Mai answered. The two other guards tried to attack her. She pinned one to the wall as well while sliding behind the cable wheel from the second blast of fire sent at her. She saw two more guards coming at her, who she took care of with her knives, and saw the other guard, who had two more with, charging directly towards her. She grabbed the first and threw knives at the other two, who went flying and knocked one of the jammers out of the cable wheel. She then pinned the first one to the ground with a knife. She knocked the second jammer out of the cable wheel, allowing the line to keep moving and the gondola moving as well. Who is that? Sokka asked as everyone, with the exception of Naruto and Azula, looked out the window. It's Mai, Zuko answered, shocked. What? Azula asked, coming to the window. Sure enough, she saw her friend standing in the middle of beaten soldiers. Yao Jing saw the same thing and was furious. What is she doing? She demanded. Ty Lee said nothing to answer her. The gondola docked at the station on the rim of the volcano. The doors opened and everyone got out. Hakoda noticed that Chit Sang was still holding the warden. He pointed to the car and the warden was thrown in. Sorry, warden, he said with zero sympathy. Your record is officially broken. I want to kill him, Azula growled, glaring at the warden. He had a frightened look when he heard that. The glare certainly added to it. Azula, his pride has been damaged, Naruto told her, gently but firmly. For men like him, that's enough. Be glad, be very glad, she snarled at the warden before she helped Naruto walk away. Well, we made it out. Now what? Suki asked Sokka as they went over the edge of the rim. He was going to answer when he saw that Zuko had stopped. Zuko, what are you doing? He asked. Yao Jing was on that island, he stated. Yeah, and she's probably right behind us, so let's not stop. What I mean is she must have come here somehow. He ran to the edge of the rim and looked down. There. That's our way out of here, he announced as he pointed down to the airship docked below. I can't believe I'm saying this, but thank you, Yao Jing, Azula said. Yao Jing stood across from Mai, who was being held by two guards. The latter could not help but glare at the woman that she and Ty Lee were forced to serve, but while her short-lived attempt at defying her would have ended badly for her, at least she was able to save her former friend and boyfriend in the process. Leave us, she ordered the guards. They saluted and left, leaving Mai with her and Ty Lee, who didn't say a word. I thought you would never do this kind of thing, she told Mai. So why would you? You know what will happen. I guess you just don't know people as well as you think you do, Mai answered. You miscalculated. I value my friendship with Azula and I love Zuko more than I fear you. No, you miscalculated. You should have feared me more, she yelled in a rage. Mai readied a knife and she was about to bend fire when both of them got a surprise. Ty Lee turned on Yao Jing and blocked her chi, making her fall to the ground. That was for all you put me through, you bitch, she shouted, giving her a vicious kick in the stomach. She walked over to Mai, who still had a stunned expression on her face. What? You thought I was going to all of that lying down? The acrobat asked her. Apparently not, she answered. Come on. Let's get out of here. They tried to run away, but were immediately surrounded by guards. You're both fools, Yao Jing declared as the guards helped her up. What shall we do with them, princess? A guard asked her. Put them somewhere I'll never have to see their faces again and let them rot, she ordered. Location: Western Air Temple. They had docked the airship right next to the temple, surprising the people there. What are you doing in this thing? Katara asked Sokka as he and Zuko got off. What happened to the war balloon? It kind of got destroyed, Zuko answered. Sounds like a crazy fishing trip, Aang said. Did you at least get some good meat? Toph asked. I did. The best meat of all, the meat of friendship and fatherhood, Sokka answered. Suki, Hakoda and Chit Sang stepped out of the airship. I'm new. What's up, everybody? Chit Sang asked, waving his hand. However, Katara wasn't focusing on him. Dad, she said, almost like she couldn't believe it. But he was right there. Hi, Katara, he greeted her, giving her a hug. How are you here? What is going on? Where did you go? She asked that last question to Sokka. We kinda went to a Fire Nation prison, he answered. Hakoda just pulled him into the hug. Seriously, you guys didn't find any meat? Tofast? That's what your concern is. Naruto's voice came out of the airship, surprising everyone who hadn't gone to the prison. How did you people manage to make it this far? He asked as he and Azula walked off the airship. During the ride on the airship, the pain had been whittled away by the QB. It had been whittled to the point where he didn't help walking around, much to both his and Azula's disappointment. You! Aang and Katara shouted in surprise. Me, he answered with an annoyed look. What are you doing here? Aang asked him. Of all things he had expected, seeing the blonde before them was not one of them. Well, somebody has to keep an eye on these two so they won't do something stupid. He looked at Zuko and Azula. And I get the feeling that you would actually encourage it. He looked at Aang. You brought him here? Katara demanded of Sokka, Zuko, and Azula. He is the reason I went, Azula retorted. Don't even start, you two. The blonde barked when he saw they were about to fight. They heard the command in his voice and stopped. He looked over at Zuko, who had a downcast expression on his face. What's the matter, Zuko? I've put my and Ty Lee's families in danger, the scarred dragon answered. What do you mean? Azula asked her brother. Mai told me that if she or Ty Lee tried to do anything against Yao Jing, their families would be harmed. Oh, don't worry. I'm sure Yao Jing will be very disappointed when she sends for them, Naruto said, making everyone look at him. What did you do? Azula asked. That comment alone meant he had done something. Nothing much, really. He shrugged. I just made sure that soldiers who had served with or under me took Ty Lee and Mai's families into hiding when the two of them would try to either escape or attack Yao Jing. When did you give that order? Sokka asked. Just before the invasion. Everyone looked at him with surprise. Just take it in stride, Azula told them. Take it in stride. Well, now that I'm out, I can finally get rid of this. He rolled up his left sleeve, revealing a tattoo, which was the kanji for storage. He placed his fingers on it and channeled his chakra into it, muttering a quick kai. He got a small cloud of smoke, and when that dissipated, he was holding a spare Jian, his Paragon medallion, and the story he was working on. What? He asked as everyone was looking at him. I only had time to seal the bare essentials. He put the medallion around in his neck, slung his Jian across his shoulders in its usual manner, and put the book away in a nearby bag. What's the book for? Aang asked, curious about it. Story I've been working on, he answered shortly. Any chance of reading it? Asked Suki. Maybe when I finish writing it. So, you're really on our side now? Katara asked a bit hesitantly. He looked at her for a minute in silence, and then looked at everyone else. All right, everybody, listen up, he told them. I am joining this little team of yours, but it's not because I feel like it. This war has gone on long enough. The Fire Nation has done terrible things, I will admit that. However, it is not the Fire Nation's fault. The fault belongs with the royal flaming asshole. If we want this to end, we have to take him out, and apparently, only one person can do that. He looked directly at Aang, making the airbender feel nervous. People may think you're the solution to their problems. Quite frankly, all I see is an idiot. But if helping you will end this war, I'll put Ozai on his knees in front of you. He tried to calm down, taking a deep breath. Thank you, Naruto. We'll be glad to have you on the team. Good to know. He turned his attention to the rest of the group. Now there's just one more question I need to ask. What's that? Sokka asked. He turned back to the airship. What the hell are we going to do with this? Chapter 34, Hunting and Blindsided. Location, Western Air Temple. Everyone continued to sleep as the sun started to show. Today was the last day they were going to spend at the Western Air Temple. It had been 3 days since the boiling rock incident. At dinner last night, Naruto told them that they would have to move somewhere new. Most of the group had agreed with him, so they had packed their stuff. They were supposed to leave that morning, but things have never gone that smoothly for them. Aang woke up first. He drank in the peaceful morning, listening to the birds chirp. However, the birds stopped chirping and flew away when a bomb sailed through the air, into the temple. Aang grabbed his staff and bent the air to shove the bomb back outside. To his shock, he failed to stop the other bombs that were being dropped. As the others woke up, airships rose up from the morning mist. They launched more bombs at the temple. Aang and Appa, along with Fanning, ran back to where the others were. Using his staff to help, he used his airbending to close the area up, slamming several ceiling-high, metal doors shut. The bombs still bombarded them, knocking some of the ceiling loose. "Watch out!" Zuko shouted, pushing Katara out of the way when rocks almost fell on top of her. "What are you doing?" she asked him as they rolled away. "Keeping rocks from crushing you," he answered. "Okay, I'm not crushed. You can get off me now." She got out from under him and stood up. "I'll take that as a thank you." He stood up as well. "Zuko, can you and Katara flirt later? We're kinda busy here," Naruto told him. Toph and Haru bent a hole in the back, creating a tunnel. "Come on," Toph called out to the others. "We can get out through here." They all gathered at the tunnel. Aang was trying to pull Appa into the tunnel when he saw Azula hadn't joined them. "What are you doing?" he shouted at her. "You guys go ahead," she told them. "I'll hold them off. I think I know who's here." She charged out past the destroyed metal doors. "Azula!" shouted Zuko and Naruto. She didn't stop to listen, she just kept moving. "Come on, you guys! We've got to get out of here," Sokka told them as he and Katara tried to help Aang try to get Appa into the tunnel. Meanwhile, Azula had gotten to the edge of the temple, just through the blast of a bomb. She threw a big fireball at one of the bomb launchers on the airships. At that point, another airship came up out of the mist. Standing in the crow's nest was Yao Jing. "I guess Naruto was right after all. You're here for something, aren't you?" Azula shouted at her. "Of course I am. I'm here for a celebration," she answered. "What's the celebration for?" "Becoming an only child." She swung her feet, shooting fire from them. Azula backed off, but the force of the blast still sent her flying. Noticing the surrounding rocks were about to collapse, she ran forward, running up a column that was slowly falling and leapt for the airship. When it looked like she wouldn't make it, she used her fire bending to boost her up onto the airship. Yao Jing leapt down from the crow's nest to face her. The rock had collapsed around the others, but Toph was able to bend it into a shield, protecting them. "I can't get him to go in there," Aang said, still trying to get his sky bison to move. "Appa hates tunnels." "Aang, there's no way we can fly out of here," Katara told him. "We'll have to find a way. We need to split up," Sokka declared. He turned to his father and the others. "Take the tunnel and get to the stolen airship," he ordered. "No! The Fire Nation can't separate our family again," Katara protested. "It'll be okay," Hakoda reassured her. "It's not forever." She gave him a quick hug before heading back to Appa. Sokka gave him a quick hug as well, then grabbed Suki and headed for Appa too. Zuko climbed onto Fanning. "I'll be able to keep an eye on you guys," Naruto told them, putting his hands into a hand seal. "Kaige Bunshin no Jutsu." Another Naruto appeared in a cloud of smoke. "Go with them and report back when they're safe." The clone nodded and followed them down the tunnel. The original Naruto climbed aboard Fanning as well, right behind Zuko. Toph placed a hand on the rock, checking the surroundings. "I can clear that away and we can fly out through there," she told them, getting into Appa's saddle. There's an awful lot of fire in that general direction," Suki pointed out. "We'll get through," Aang told her. "Let's go." Appa burst through the rock and flew through the airships, his head covered by a couple of rocks before they fell off due to the speed he was flying at. Fanning was right behind him. As the dragon and the sky bison flew past, Azula and Yao Jing, still fighting each other, stopped and looked at them. "Azula, we are leaving!" Naruto shouted down at her. Zuko turned Fanning around so that Azula could get on. She understood and used her fire bending to send her flying up next to the dragon. Naruto reached out a hand for her to grab. She took it and got on behind him. Fanning flew away, following Appa. They flew hard and long the entire day. By the time the sun had set, they were far away from the Western Air Temple and had already set up camp. "Wow, camping, it really seems like old times again, doesn't it?" Aang asked as they sat around the campfire. "If you really want it to feel like old times," Zuko said as he tossed a piece of meat to Fanning, "I could, chase you around for a while and try to capture you." "I guess that means I'd have to join in the chasing as well," Azula said. "And that means I'm on babysitting duty again. Thank you ever so much," Naruto told Aang. When she heard that, Azula swatted him on the arm. "Hey, It's the truth and we both know it, he defended himself. The entire group laughed, except for one person. Ha ha, Katara said sarcastically. To Zuko, Azula, and Naruto, Sokka announced, holding up his cup. Who knew after all those times they tried to snuff us out, they'd be our allies? Akela barked in agreement. Here. Here. The others cheered, minus Katara. Toph gave Zuko a light punch on the arm. I don't know about you two, Zuko said to Azula and Naruto. But I'm touched. We don't deserve this. Yeah, no kidding, Katara snapped, before getting up and walking away. After a minute of somewhat awkward silence, Zuko followed her. She was standing on the edge of a nearby cliff, looking down at the waves. When she heard footsteps behind and saw that it was Zuko, she became hostile and walked away. This isn't fair, he protested. Everyone else seems to trust us now. What is it with you? Oh, everyone trusts you now, she demanded. I was the first person to trust you, remember? Back in Ba Sing Se. And you turned around and betrayed me, betrayed all of us. What can I do to make it up to you? You really want to know? She asked, walking closer to him. Maybe you can reconquer Ba Sing Se in the name of the Earth King. Or I know. You could bring my mother back. She stomped away. Later that night, he made his way over to Sokka's tent, running into both Suki and Naruto. Do you guys need to talk to Sokka too? He asked the two of them. It's nothing we can't talk about later, Suki told him a bit hurriedly, walking away. Are you sure? Yes, Zuko, we're sure, Naruto said. You go have a talk with Sokka, we'll get to him later. He walked off. Zuko just shrugged and walked into Sokka's tent. He looked up from where he was writing in his journal, Akela resting at his side. Hey Zuko, he greeted, putting his journal down. What's on your mind? Your sister, he answered as he sat down. She hates me, and I don't know why. But I do care what she thinks of me. Hey, I'm surprised that she's able to hate anyone in the first place. She had always been the goody two-shoes of the family. Zuko hesitated for a minute, before exhaling and turning his gaze towards Sokka. Listen, I know this may seem out of nowhere, but I want you to tell me what happened to your mother. What? He asked, slightly surprised. Why would you want to know that? Katara mentioned it before when we were in prison together with Naruto and Ba Sing Se, and again, just now when she was yelling at me, the scarred dragon explained. I think somehow she's connected her anger at that to her anger at me, Azula, and Naruto. It's not a day I like to remember. Flashback, both Sokka and Katara were having a snowball fight against each other. Just as Sokka was about to throw a big snowball at Katara, black snow started to fall. I'm going to find Mom, Katara told him, running off. He ran towards the walls, despite being a child. Many of the men were heading that way too. When he climbed up to the wall, he saw the black ships and the bad men, who gave a battle cry and charged forward, cradling fire in their hands. The warriors stood ready and gave their own battle cry. The fight was short-lived, with the warriors winning. Sokka hopped down the wall and grabbed a boomerang off the snow. Just as he was about to join the fight, the bad men ran away. End flashback. Many of the warriors had seen the black snow before and they knew what it meant, a Fire Nation raid, Sokka told him. We were badly outnumbered, but somehow, we managed to drive them off. As quickly as they came, they just left. I was so relieved when it was over, but that's because I didn't know yet what had happened. I didn't know we had lost our mother. Wait, Zuko spoke. Can you remember any details about the soldiers who raided your village? Like what the lead ship had looked like? Yeah, Sea Ravens, he answered, remembering the flags on the Fire Nation ships. The main ship had flags with Sea Ravens on them. The symbol of the Southern Raiders, he realized. Thanks, Sokka. He stood up. No problem, he replied. Zuko walked out of the tent and almost ran into Naruto. You're going to do something stupid, aren't you? The blonde accused him. Would you believe me if I said I wasn't? No. He sighed and walked away. Just make sure to take Appa. Zuko was confused about what he said, but didn't ask what he meant. When morning came, he was sitting on a rock outside Katara's tent. When she came out and saw him, she scowled. You look terrible, she stated as she walked past him and reached for her bag. I waited out here all night, he told her. What do you want? She asked as she brushed her hair, trying to ignore him. I know who killed your mother. She stopped brushing. And I'm going to help you find him. She looked back at him. Are you lying to me? Why would he lie about something like this? Azula asked as she and Naruto joined them. The waterbender glanced their way. What are you two doing here? We're coming along with you, Naruto told her with a firm voice and folded arms. No arguments and no objections. Normally, she would have objected. But this was too good of an opportunity to pass up. Fine, we better get our stuff together and get on fawning. It's probably better if we took Appa, Zuko said. Fawning is not really a long-distance people carrier. The more people he's carrying, the more exhausted he is. He looked over at Naruto. I guess that's what you meant, huh? Naruto just nodded. They grabbed the things they needed and made their way over to Appa. Aang was feeding him while Sokka was fiddling with a flower necklace. I need to borrow Appa, Katara told Aang. Why? Is it your turn to take a little field trip with Zuko and Azula? He asked jokingly. Yes, it is. He was slightly surprised at that. Oh. What's going on? We're going to find the man who took my mother from me. Sokka stood up when he heard this, dropping the necklace. Sokka told me the story of what happened, Zuko explained. I know who did it, and I knew how to find him. Why are they coming? Sokka asked, gesturing at Azula and Naruto. Because we are, Azula replied. What exactly do you think this will accomplish? Aang asked. Ugh, I knew you wouldn't understand, Katara said, shaking her head. She turned around and walked away. Wait. Stop. He told her. I do understand. You're feeling unbelievable pain and rage. How do you think I felt when the Sandbenders stole Appa? How do you think I felt about the Fire Nation when I found out what happened to my people? She needs this, saying, Zuko told him. This is about getting closure and justice. I don't think so, he objected. I think it's about getting revenge. Fine, maybe it is. Katara snapped at him. Maybe that's what I need. Maybe that's what he deserves. Katara, you sound like Jet. It's not the same. Jet attacked the innocent. This man, he's a monster. What? You're not going to say anything? The QB asked his host. Why should I? He asked back. Kit, please remember I can read your thoughts. You don't think I haven't noticed your feelings about that man? There was enough hate inside the blonde for that person to make an Avenger proud. That is not revenge. That is justice. Why do I have a hard time believing you? If it was revenge, would I have stayed here for 3 years without ever going back? It could just mean you took lesson number 5 to heart, the fox commented. He had all but beaten those lessons into his Jinchuriki's skull. Enough, we're done talking about this. Katara, she was my mother too, Sokka told his sister. But I think Aang might be right. Then you didn't love her the way I did, she retorted. Katara. He was horrified and a little saddened by her words. Before anyone could say anything else, Naruto smacked her on the back of her head. Apologize, he ordered. That was uncalled for. Sokka loved your mother as much as you did, and you just spat on that love. You will apologize to him. She threw a glare his way, but it didn't do anything. He was resolute. Sorry, Sokka, she said half-heartedly. Katara, the monks used to say that revenge was like a two-headed rat viper, Aang told her. While you watch your enemy go down, you're being poisoned yourself. That's cute, Azula commented. But this isn't your Air Temple preschool. It's the real world. Things are different here. Now that I know he's out there, now that I know we can find him, I feel like I have no choice, Katara explained. She had to find him and make him pay. Katara, you do have a choice, forgiveness, Aang told her. That's the same as doing nothing, Zuko protested. No, it's not. It's easy to do nothing, but it's hard to forgive. It's not just hard, it's impossible, she told him before walking away. Zuko, Azula and Naruto followed her. They waited until night and tried again. They had put black cloaks over their clothes, along with a face mask. Naruto had tied a bandana over his head to cover his hair, and Katara had tied her hair into a ponytail. As they readied themselves to climb aboard Appa, Aang and Sokka came out from behind a rock. So, you were just gonna take Appa anyway? Aang demanded. Yes, Katara answered shortly. It's okay, because I forgive you. He paused for a moment. Does that give you any ideas? Aang, shut up, Naruto told him. They didn't any of his antics right now. Don't try to stop us, Katara warned. I wasn't planning to, Aang replied. This is a journey you need to take. You need to face this man. Katara climbed atop Appa's head while the other three tossed the packs up into the saddle. But when you do, please don't choose revenge. Let your anger out, and then let it go. Forgive him. Okay, we'll be sure to do that, Guru Goody Goody, Zuko said sarcastically. Just get in the saddle, Zuko, Azula told him. He climbed up and she followed with Naruto behind. Thanks for understanding, Aang, Katara said. She turned her attention to Appa. Yip yip, she told the sky bison. He took off and started flying. You know, you're pretty wise for a kid, Sokka told Aang. Thanks, Sokka, he replied. Usually it's annoying, but right now I'm impressed. I appreciate that. His face fell when he realized what Sokka had said. Hey, can I borrow Momo for a week? Why do you need Momo? I have to do something to entertain Akela. The wolf perked up when he heard that, and the lemur looked scared for his life. Location: Fire Nation. By the time Yu Jing returned to the royal palace, she noticed several imperial guards scattering in fear while the courtiers stopped their conversation to see her walk into the throne room. Ozai sat on the throne, but she can tell that his dark expression meant only one thing: displeasure. Yao Jing bent her knee before her father, ready to explain herself. Ozai merely closed his eyes and shook his head in frustration. I don't need to hear it from you, Yao Jing. He looked at her dejected face and scoffed. Your failure to apprehend your traitorous siblings reflects badly on your status as the heir to the throne. Yao Jing looked up to her father, a fearful look on her face. Father, she started. Ozai held up his hand to silence her. You are rusty and unrefined. While your traitorous siblings focused on improving themselves, you were simply grooming yourself so you can look pretty. Yao Jing looked down on the floor, but Ozai grew more irritated. Look at me when I'm talking to you, Yao Jing. She did as she was told. You need to improve yourself before fighting your siblings on an equal level. Until I see improvement in your competence, you will not join in any hunts for your siblings. Get out of my sight. Yao Jing had walked the throne room with her head held high. Now she was fighting back tears as she ran through the hallway. She did not notice 5 men walking by, as they were too busy heading towards the throne room. Yao Jing did not also notice the pudgy servant who used to serve her former brother hiding in the corner. When Colonel Monk and the rest of the rough rhinos entered the throne room, Ozai's demeanor changed slightly. They bent their knee before the Fire Lord, and Ozai beckoned for them to stand up soon after. Vatcher and Kachi looked around the throne room, before allowing their leader to speak. My guards are sufficient enough to protect me, so what are you doing? Ozai asked. Colonel Monk spoke first. My lord, we've started to notice that old servant who hung around in the traitorous prince's chambers taking longer walks around the palace. Normally, this would be seen as a normal thing, but Kachi recently caught him snooping around in former Princess Azula's room for no good reason. Why would Ha be interested in what my failure of a daughter is up to? He growled, the flames around him starting to rise slightly. Moreover, why is he being allowed to roam around the palace unsupervised? Kachi stepped forward. My lord, I don't know if Ha is who we think he really is. For a clumsy servant, he can easily hide himself in the shadows to ensure that we won't find him. See to it that Ha is monitored closely, he ordered in a tense voice. Now then, do you have any guess as to where my traitorous children might have gone? The last time Yu Jing found them, it was in the Western Air Temple. I doubt they would have gone to any other air temples, or the rest of the Earth Kingdom. We should also assume that your children may have joined the Avatar in the process too, Vatcher spoke up, to which Ozai nodded sagely. I remember what Zuko and Azula told me before they betrayed me. They were going to help the Avatar take me down, and restore balance to the world. He mocked his children's words with his own. Still, the writers didn't come here for that. You all have done well in your battles. You are to be rewarded to that end. I'm sending you all to Ember Island on leave. I hear they have a play coming up. You grace us with your mercy, Fire Lord Ozai, the rough rhinos said in unison as they bent the knee and left the throne room. Location Appa. They flew through the air, in the light of the moon. We need to find a Fire Navy communication tower, Zuko told Katara. All the Navy's movements are coordinated by Messenger Hawk. And every tower has to be up to date on where everyone is deployed. So, once we find a communication tower, we bust in and take the information we need, she declared from where she sat atop of Appa's head. Katara, we're not wearing this stuff as a fashion statement, Naruto told her, gesturing at his cloak and bandana. They were trying to do this silently. He's right, Azula agreed. We need to make sure no one spots us. Otherwise, they'll warn the southern raiders long before we reach them. Katara didn't reply. She was focused on her mission. They soon found a communication tower. She landed Appa behind a large rock. They got off Appa and ran towards the water. Katara bent the water to form a block of ice. She, along with Zuko and Azula, got on the ice and she bent the sea to push the block of ice towards the tower's wall, which was the island's natural rocky perimeter. She then bent the water to push them up, allowing them to jump into the tower base. While she did that, Naruto simply ran across the water and then up the side of the rocks. Once they were inside the base, Naruto took the lead. They hid behind a building when they heard a door opening and a pair of guards walking out. Seeing that the door was left open, they ran in and climbed into the air ducts. They crawled through the ducts, using Naruto's knowledge of the tower's layout to get around. They soon found the information room as they noticed the guard at the desk was writing positions on a map. Katara bent the ink in the nearby pot to spill, covering the guard's hands. The guard walked out of the room to clean them, allowing the four to drop into the room. While Naruto and Azula covered the door, Zuko and Katara went through the records. Okay, the southern raiders, Zuko announced as he found the scroll for their location. He unfurled it and examined it closely. Bam, he stated, pointing at a particular spot on the map. They're on patrol near Whale Tail Island. Whale Tail Island, here we come, Katara declared. They put the scroll back and climbed up into the air ducts. They made their way back to Appa and flew off. Zuko, Azula, and Naruto had fallen asleep. When they woke up, the sun was rising. They also noticed that Katara had stayed awake the entire time. You should get some rest, Zuko told her. We'll be there in a few hours. You'll need all your strength. Oh, don't you worry about my strength, she told him. I have plenty. I'm not the helpless little girl I was when they came. Flashback, I'm going to find Mom, she told Sokka as they watched the black snow fall. As everyone ran towards the wall, she ran back to her igloo. Mom! She cried, running through the curtain, only to see her mother and a tall, scary man with her. The scary man turned to face her. Just let her go and I'll give you the information you want, Katara's mother pleaded. You hear your mother, the scary man told her. Get out of here. Mom, I'm scared, she whimpered. Go find your dad, sweetie. I'll handle this, her mother reassured her. She looked at the scary man one more time before bolting out of the igloo. She ran towards the walls as fast as her little legs would allow her. Dad, Dad! She called out as she saw her dad shove a bad man's head into the ice. Please, I think Mom's in trouble. There's a man in our house. Hakoda realized what that meant. Kia! He shouted. Both he and his daughter ran back to the house and pushed through the curtains. What they saw made them wish they hadn't. End flashback. I ran as fast as I could, Katara told them. But we were too late. When we got there, the man was gone. And so was she. Your mother was a brave woman, Zuko declared. I know. Naruto climbed out of the saddle and got onto Appa's head. Get some rest, Katara, he told her. I'll take care of the flying. She handed him the reins, climbed into the saddle and fell asleep. Azula, Zuko, and Naruto kept handing off the reins to one another for the rest of the day, allowing her to sleep. By the time night had fallen again, they had found what they were looking for. There! Zuko shouted from Appa's head, waking up Katara. See those sea raven flags? He asked her, tossing the telescope at her. She looked through it, and a Fire Nation ship. But she also saw the flags on the ship. It's the Southern Raiders. Let's do this, she declared, lowering the telescope. Appa went under the water and swam through it, Katara bending an air bubble for him. As they got close to the ship, she bent a water whip to shoot up and grab one of the raiders. It sent him flying into the ocean and got the other raiders to run over to the railing. Appa swam underneath the ship and rose to the surface. As he did, Katara bent the sea to form a wave and sent it at the ship. Just as one of the raiders noticed, it hit the ship and sent most of them over the edge. The one raider who managed to stay aboard was quickly sent overboard as well when Appa landed on the deck and Katara used her waterbending to send him flying. Zuko opened a nearby door, and they went into the ship. When a raider came out of his cabin to stop them, Azula grabbed the sword he was holding and shoved him back in. She closed the door and stabbed the sword through the door handles, ensuring the raider couldn't get out. They kept moving until they reached the door to the helm. This is it, Katara, Naruto told her. Are you ready to face him? She simply pulled her face mask down and hurled the water she was carrying at the door with a shout. The water collided with the door and forced it open. Zuko quickly stepped into the room and brushed aside the fireballs sent at him. Who are you? The commander of the Southern Raiders demanded. You don't remember her? Azula asked, briefly looking over at Katara. You will, soon enough. The commander tried to bend another fireball at them, but out of nowhere, his body stopped obeying his commands. What's happening to me? He asked as he was forced down to the ground. As they watched this happen, Zuko, Azula, and Naruto realized Katara was making him do this. Think back. Zuko ordered the commander. Think back to your last raid on the Southern Water Tribe. I don't know what you're talking about. Please, I don't know. He begged. Don't lie. He bent down and then pointed at Katara. You look her in the eye and you tell me you don't remember what you did. She bent his body up so that she could look at his face, only to realize something important. It's not him, she said, her expression going from one of hate to one of shock. He's not the man. She let her control over his body go away, letting him fall to the floor. What? What do you mean he's not? Azula asked her. He's the leader of the Southern Raiders. It has to be him. The waterbender didn't say anything. She just turned around and started walking out of the room. Zuko grabbed the commander and slammed him up against the glass. If you're not the man we're looking for, who is? He demanded. When Katara heard this, she stopped and listened. You must be looking for Yan Rha, he answered. He retired 4 years ago. When she heard that, Katara walked out of the room. She now knew who her target. Zuko demanded the location of the retired commander. When he got it, Naruto stepped in. That's enough, Zuko, he said to the scarred dragon. You and Azula follow Katara back to Appa. I'm gonna have a quick chat with the commander. The two nodded and left the room. Who are you people? The commander asked again. To answer him, Naruto lowered the face mask and untied the bandana, making his eyes go wide with fear. Lord Naruto, I thought you were imprisoned, he said in both shock and fear. I broke out with some help, he whispered at his ear as he slowly drew his jin. But now, we have a problem on our hands. A problem? His eyes were riveted on the blade in front of him. Well, you know I can't really let you live now that you've seen us, especially me, the blonde said with a casual tone in his voice. The Fire Lord won't know, I swear. So you and the rest of the raiders will take part in it? The commander nodded almost frantically. Okay then, that's what I was hoping you'd say. He sheathed the jin, put the bandana back on and walked out of the room. He made his way down the corridor, out onto the deck and back onto Appa, who then took off. What did you talk to him about? Azula asked him. I ensured that the commander and the Southern Raiders would be a part of a time-honored tradition, he answered, leaning against the saddle. And which tradition is that? The tradition of not seeing a damn thing, he answered, a small grin. But when he turned to look at Katara, who was holding the reins, the grin disappeared. That was bloodbending back there, wasn't it? He asked her. Yes, she answered shortly. Not gonna ask how I know. I don't care. Katara, you need to calm down, he told her. If you keep going like this, the hatred you hold will consume you. What gives you the right to say that? She snapped at him, turning her head to face him. Who did you lose, huh? Probably no one, I'll bet. You're wrong, he replied with a harsh tone and a hard look. I told you when I was posing as Shia that my parents were dead. They had died when I was born. But I would like to think I had a grandfather figure when I was young, and he died in an attack. So yes, I have lost someone. Don't ever think that you're the only one who's lost somebody. She didn't say anything back. She just her head back around and kept facing forward. Location, Fire Nation. Yan Rha knelt before his garden, raking the soil with his trough. Yan Rha, you lazy piece of work! Screamed an old woman from the house behind him, standing in the doorway. I need something. Yes, mother, he answered. What is it? The tomato carrots from your garden are too hard for my gums. I need something soft and juicy. Would you like something else from the garden? He offered, turning to face her. I would be happy to. Forget your stupid garden. His mother shouted at him. Get your grimy hind to the market and get me some real food. She walked back into the house. He made his way down to the village and started buying grocery. When he was getting a few things from one store, he felt someone's eyes on him. "Hello?" he called out, turning around. He didn't see anyone. "Did you see someone?" he asked the store owner, who shook his head. Thinking it was just his mind playing around with him, he shrugged it off. Once he had all his groceries, he started to walk back to his house. As he went down a set of stairs, the feeling came back, making him stop. "Hello?" he called out, looking back the staircase. "Is someone there?" When he didn't get an answer, he scowled but kept on walking. However, his feelings were right, someone was watching him. "That was him," Katara told the others as they watched him walk away. "That was the monster." "He's not a monster," Naruto told her. "He's just a man." The storm clouds overhead had finally opened and poured down rain. Jan Rha kept on walking home. The feeling of eyes watching him never went away. "Nobody sneaks up on me without getting burned," he declared, suddenly whipping around and bending fire at a bush. As he watched it burned, he sighed and picked up the groceries he had dropped. He began walking again, only trip over a wire and making him fall. A burst of fire made him leap back. "We weren't behind the bush," Zuko informed him as he stood in a fire-bending stance. "And I wouldn't try fire-bending again." "You really shouldn't," Azula said, leaning against the tree behind him with a hand on one of her daggers. "It might not be good for you." "Whoever you are, take my money," he told them in a frightened voice. "Take whatever you want, I'll cooperate." "We're not here for your money," Naruto said as he walked up beside Zuko. "But you will cooperate with us." Katara walked up to him and pulled her face mask down. "Do you know who I am?" she asked him. "No. I'm not sure," he answered. The face seemed familiar, he just couldn't place it. "Oh, you better remember me like your life depends on it," she told him. "Why don't you take a closer look?" Yes, I remember you now." He recognized the face. "You're the little Water Tribe girl." Flashback. "Just let her go," the Water Tribe woman pleaded with him. "And I'll give you the information you want." "You heard your mother," he told the little girl. "Get out of here." "Mom, I'm scared," she told her mother. "Go find your dad, sweetie. I'll handle this." He watched as the girl ran out of the igloo before turning his attention to the mother. "Now tell me, who is it? Who's the waterbender?" he demanded. "There are no waterbenders here," she told him. "The Fire Nation took them all away a long time ago." "You're lying. My source says there's one waterbender left in the Southern Water Tribe. We're not leaving until we find the waterbender." "If I tell you, do you promise to leave the rest of the village alone?" He gave a single nod. "It's me. Take me as your prisoner." "I'm afraid I'm not taking prisoners today," he told her with an evil smile. And flashback. "She lied to you," Katara told him, looking away. "She was protecting the last waterbender." "What? Who?" he asked, surprised. She turned her gaze back on him, her eyes filled with anger and hate. "Me." She bent the rain to stop and form a dome over their heads. It held there for a minute before she bent it apart and hurled it at him, changing it into a barrage of ice spikes. He flinched away, covering his eyes with his arms. When he felt no pain, he looked beyond his arms. The spikes just floated in the air, inches away from his face. Closing her eyes, she lowered her hands, turning the ice back into water and letting it collapse to the ground. "I did a bad thing," he admitted, getting onto his knees. "I know I did, and you deserve revenge. So why don't you take my mother? That would be fair," he offered with a weak smile. "I always wondered what kind of person could do such a thing," she said. "But now that I see you, I think I understand. There's just nothing inside you, nothing at all. You're pathetic and sad and empty. Please spare me," he begged, bowing his head. "But, as much as I hate you, I just can't do it." She walked away and the others followed her. He stayed there on the ground. The three of them walked away, leaving the retried commander of the Southern Raiders weeping on the ground, his groceries scattered all around him. Location: Ember Island. They had flown to Ember Island, to the beach house the royal family once used. While everyone shared what happened, Katara went down to the beach. She sat on the dock, kicking her feet back and forth in the water and looking at the sunset. "I miss you, Mom," she thought to herself in sadness. "I miss you so much." "Katara?" said Aang as he, Zuko, and Naruto joined her on the dock. "Are you okay?" "I'm doing fine," she answered. "Zuko and Naruto told me what you did. Or what you didn't do, I guess. I'm proud of you, the air nomad told her. I wanted to do it, she replied, casting a glance at him. I wanted to take out all my anger at him, but I couldn't. I don't know if it's because I'm too weak to do it or because I'm strong enough not to. You did the right thing. Forgiveness is the first step you have to take to begin healing. She stood up and faced the three of them. I didn't forgive him. I'll never forgive him. She turned her attention to Zuko and Naruto. But I am ready to forgive the three of you. I'm sure Azula will be glad to hear that, Naruto told her. She gave them both a hug and walked away. You were right about what Katara needed, Zuko told Aang. Violence wasn't the answer. It never is, he replied. Then I have a question for you. He turned to look at him. What are you gonna do when you face my father? He looked away. I don't know. That was the sticking point for him whenever he thought about how to end the war. I've got a better question for you, Naruto said, looking directly at him. What do you do when you go up against someone who doesn't deserve forgiveness? Everyone deserves forgiveness, Naruto, Aang answered. He snorted in derision. Spoken like a true naive idiot. He turned around and began to walk away. That's something about the real world you need to learn. Not everyone deserves to be forgiven. Some just deserve to die. Naruto, Zuko spoke. When you told Katara that if she went on like that, the hatred would consume her, you sounded like you knew what would happen. Did something like that happen to you? He stopped, and then looked back at them. Let's just say it was one of the reasons I came here. He kept walking. What happened? The scarred dragon asked, wanting to know. If you want to know, go ask your sister about Itachi Uchiha. He left them alone on the dock. You're a fucking hypocrite, you know that, right? The QB asked him. Yeah, I know. It had been 2 days since Katara and the others came back to Ember Island. That morning, as Katara and Toph relaxed, Aang and his teachers, Azula and Zuko, were practicing their fire bending. Nearby, Naruto was sparring against a clone of his. Aang, Azula, and Zuko finished their sets, breathed in deep and bowed to one another. Doesn't it seem kinda weird that we're hiding from the Fire Lord in his own house? Katara asked. I told you, Zuko said as he wiped off the sweat that he had created from the practice. Our father hasn't come here since our family was actually happy. And that was a long time ago. It's the last place anyone would think to look for us, Azula agreed as she splashed water on her face. Both she and her brother were sitting around the fountain in the middle of the courtyard. You guys are not gonna believe this, Sokka announced as he and Suki entered the courtyard. Believe what? Naruto asked as he beat the clone, making it vanish, and walking over. There's a play about us. We were just in town, and we found this poster, Suki explained as Sokka showed the poster. What? Katara asked as they all gathered around. How is this possible? Listen to this. Sokka turned the poster to face him and began reading it. The Boy in the Iceberg is a new production from acclaimed playwright Puan Tim, who scoured this side of the globe gathering information on the Avatar, from the icy South Pole to the heart of Ba Sing Se. His sources include singing nomads, pirates, prisoners of war, and a surprisingly knowledgeable merchant of cabbage. Brought to you by the critically acclaimed Ember Island players, Suki finished reading, making Zuko, Azula, and Naruto groan in disgust. Our mother used to take us to see them, Zuko explained as everyone looked at them. They butchered love amongst the dragons every year, Azula said. I went to go see that play when I was first here, Naruto told them. Believe me when I say I was glad when the play was over. It wasn't that bad, the QB argued. Yes, it was. Sokka, do you really think it's a good idea to attend a play about ourselves? Katara asked her brother. Why not? It's the kind of wacky, time-wasting nonsense I've been missing, he told her. Please, let's not, Naruto half begged. I really don't want to gouge out my own eyes. It can't be all that bad, Aang told him. At least give it a try, the fox agreed. Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you, the blonde told the non-Fire Nation members of the team. That night, they went to the theater to watch the play. By the end of it, they were thoroughly depressed and disgusted with it. The so-called play was nothing more than Fire Nation, or to be more precise, Fire Lord propaganda. The characters acted nothing like their real-life counterparts. By the time the second act had started, Naruto was seriously considering leaping onto the stage and murdering everyone there. By the time the third act had started, Zuko and Azula had joined him in the planning. Unfortunately, they didn't actually put any of it into action, might have saved a lot of misery if they had. When the play ended, with the Fire Nation's victory, of course, the rest of audience gave a standing ovation. They, on the other hand, couldn't have left the theater faster. That wasn't a good play, Zuko stated as they walked away. I'll say, Aang said. No kidding, Katara agreed. Horrible, Suki declared. You said it, Toph supported. But the effects were decent, Sokka commented. Oh great, a saving grace, Azula remarked dryly. Kit, I am so sorry for doubting you, the QB told his host. Even he had been offended by what he had just seen, and considering how long he had been around, that was saying a lot. No problem, he replied. I want you to promise me something. What's that? Promise me that abomination never gets into the hands of one of those movie makers back home. QB, if that happens, I will gladly kill the entire movie crew, okay? Thank you. Thank you so much. The walk back to the beach house was quiet. But when they got back, it was quiet. That's strange, Aang remarked as they entered the house. I thought Momo or Akela would greet us. You're right, Naruto said, taking the lead. That is strange. Everyone, be ready for a fight. Something tells me we're not alone here. They walked carefully through the house. Sokka and Zuko had their swords out while Azula readied her daggers. Katara, Toph and Aang were ready to move into a bending stance at a moment's notice, the same as Suki. They didn't see anyone, but Toph suddenly bent some earth to cover them as 3 bombs went off from where they stood. We have company, and they're not friendly, Toph shouted as she bent the earth back down. To everyone's horror, the intruders who ambushed them appeared at the house's entrance were familiar to most of the group, except for Toph. It was the rough rhinos. I knew something was weird when I saw a small group leave the theater after the show ended without clapping first, Thatcher said. He shot an arrow towards Aang, who quickly sidestepped it. Meanwhile, Colonel Monk engaged Zuko and Azula. To think that we'd come across the 2 traitors and the Avatar's little group, plus a side bonus of the traitor Paragon himself, he said. Naruto snorted as he swung his Jien at Kachi. Still bitter about the incident over there? Not funny, Naruto, Azula growled angrily as she avoided a burst of fire. She and Zuko bent fire daggers and charged towards the leader of the rough rhinos. Suki ended up tag-teaming Ogode with Toph. He kept the earthbender away with his chain while handling Suki in close quarters. In the back, Yelu threw 3 grenades at them. Aang noticed and bent an air sphere to deflect the grenades, sending them back at Yelu. He dodged with practiced ease, missing the blast. However, it gave Vatcher a chance to press his attack against Aang, driving him back from the others. Zuko realized they couldn't keep the open field. The battlefield needed to change in their favor. Quick! Into the house, and to the courtyard! He shouted at the others. They started to fall back to the house. Monk simply grinned. Smart move, Prince Zuko. I wonder how that will last, until we occupy your whole house. Naruto's move towards the house was hampered by his fight. Kangchi was relentless, swinging his guandao again and again. No energy was wasted as he swung. He knew the weapon well. For anyone else, this could have been a problem. But Naruto didn't panic. When Kachi swung his guandao down from overhead, he swung his Jien up. Kangchi felt a sudden loss of weight. The blade landed in the sand beside him. It had been cut from the handle. As he stared at his broken weapon, Naruto went for the kill. He would have succeeded if Ogdi's BLO hadn't wrapped itself around the Jien. Game over, Lord Naruto. Just do all of us a favor and tell your group to surrender, he shouted gleefully. That was as far as he got before his arm was encased in ice. Katara bent the ice, dragging him into the wall. Kachi, on the other hand, recovered and used what was left of his weapon to keep fighting. By the time they reached the courtyard, all 5 of the rough rhinos surrounded them from multiple directions. Suki spotted Appa, Momo, Akela, and Fanning as they were all piled up next to each other. Hey! There they are, she said. She also noticed something else. Why weren't they moving? Azula noticed the same thing. Are they asleep? She couldn't have kept the incredulous tone out of her voice if she tried. There they were, in the middle of an ambush, and their possible backup was asleep. Aang managed to get away from Vatcher, who was accosted by Sokka. He looked over at the animals. Maybe we shouldn't wake them, he said. I don't know about the others, but Appa gets kinda cranky when he's suddenly woken up. Zuko had a different idea. Aang, take over. He broke off from Monk, letting Aang step. He didn't take long to see what was wrong. Hold on, Fanning's not asleep. He's knocked out. Akela too. As Ogodai kept fighting Suki, he noticed something. Hey, Colonel! What are those paper things on the ground? He shouted. That was when Naruto noticed the papers attached to the granite floor in the courtyard. But it wasn't just paper. It was sealed tags, and they were perfectly positioned to cover the entire courtyard. Oh no, he thought in realization. Everyone, get out! He suddenly ordered, surprising everyone. We need to get out of this house now. But before anyone could ask him why, the tags went off. There wasn't an explosion because they weren't explosive tags. They held something different. It's knockout gas, kid! The QB warned him. I kinda noticed, he replied as he covered his mouth and nose, trying to protect himself. How much did I breathe in? Not enough to take you out. He looked around. The others were already collapsing. I have to get them out of the gas. The rough rhinos he'd worry about after his team was out. But before he could do anything, he got a swift punch in the stomach, making him pull his hand away to gasp. The gas flew swiftly into his mouth and nose, making him begin to feel woozy. Colonel Monk and the others started to reach the entrance, but the effects of the gas had gotten to them as well. Monk was the last one to fall unconscious, his vision blurry and his hearing muddled. He saw someone standing over Naruto, someone he didn't know. The only details he could make out were he was as tall as Kangchi and had an abnormal length of white hair. Hey Gaki, how've you been? That was the last thing he heard before he finally passed out. By the time he and the other rhinos came to, they were on the other side of the island. And the traders, along with their friends, were nowhere in sight. Chapter 35. Different places and same problems. Location unknown. Azula slowly opened her eyes, wincing at the light. What happened? She asked herself. The last thing I remember is fighting the rhinos in the courtyard, then Naruto telling us to get out. The rest came quick after that. She remembered them finding the animals unconscious as well as being hit by the knockout gas. She leapt out of the bed and ran over to the nearby window. Where in the name of Agni am I? Just outside the window was a place she had never seen before. It didn't look like it belonged in the Earth Kingdom, the Water Tribes, or the Fire Nation. When she heard something beyond the door that sounded like footsteps walking to the room, she ran over and stood beside it. When it swung open, the door hit her. Hey, are you up yet? A voice asked as someone walked in. It sounded familiar. Then it came to her, it belonged to that blonde-haired girl that had been with Aang in the drill at the outer walls of Ba Sing Se. Ino walked into the room, but when she looked at the bed, she didn't see Azula sleeping there. She barely had time to comprehend this when Azula rushed out from behind the door and slammed into her, knocking them both down to the ground. Hey, get off of me! She protested as she tried to get up. Where am I? Azula demanded as she struggled to keep her down. Where are the others? Where's Naruto? She felt someone grab the back of her shirt and pulled her back. Let me go! Azula, calm down! Ordered a familiar voice. She stopped struggling. Zuko? She asked, making sure that it was. Yeah, it is. When she turned to look, she saw that it was indeed her brother. Then do you mind letting go? As long as you behave. She nodded, so he let go. Nice to meet you again as well, Azula, Ino said, standing back up. While she hadn't been expecting that surprise attack, she still hoped things could go smoothly. The feeling is not mutual, Azula replied curtly. She turned dismissed her for her brother. What is going on, Zuko? Where are we? Maybe it's best if you came down to the lobby with us, he told her. What are you talking about? She was confused and she wanted some answers. If you would actually try and listen instead of flapping your mouth, Ino told her, a little annoyed that she was being ignored. You're in the top hotel of Konoha, the tree house. Konoha? Where is that? Azula, Zuko said, getting her attention. We're in Naruto's home village. Damn, Akela. You got big, Kiba said as he and Akamaru stood in front of the wolf. Akela was indeed bigger, having reached Sokka's stomach height-wise. And he was more muscular too. He was no longer a pup. Seriously? Asked Sokka. You greet the wolf before the rest of us? They were all standing around in the lobby, a wide room that could hold a lot of people. The place was mostly empty at that moment, as they were the largest group there. They were standing, leaning against a wall, or sitting on a chair near the entrance to the hotel. It's troublesome, but that's just how Kiba is, Shikamaru stated. He is an Inuzuka after all. They would always talk to the dogs first. Well, it's still great to see you all again, Katara told the members of the Konoha 11 that were there. We weren't sure if you had made it out of Ba Sing Se alive. That had a worrying thought during the time Aang had been comatose. We did, Niji said. But we had thought Aang had died, and our mission failed. Naruto was so unyouthful to have lied to us, Lee declared. Well, to be fair to Naruto, he thought Twinkle Toes was dead too, Toph told him. Even though it looked like she was lounging in a chair, her feet were planted on the ground. So Zuko and Azula, who had been chasing you for the better part of a year, turned traitor and joined your team? Shino asked Aang. Pretty much, yeah, he answered with a big goofy grin, sitting on an arm of Toph's chair. Why would they do that? Hinata asked. We don't actually know, Suki answered. What do you mean you don't know? Tenten said. We never really bothered asking them, Sokka replied. They were just glad they weren't chasing them anymore. It's because we didn't want the future of the Fire Nation to be spas built upon broken homes and orphaned children, Azula declared as she, Zuko, and Ino walked into the lobby. Everyone in Team Avatar noticed how agitated she looked just by her expression. I would like to say it's nice to see you again, Choji told her. But it'd be hard to actually say. She ignored him and looked around, seeing only the young members of the shinobi teams. Where are the adults? The last time I checked, you were being chaperoned, she asked them. A few of them scowled, figuring she was trying to be insulting. The others ignored the tone. Kurenai-sensei went to the hospital to check up on the baby, Shino told her. Asuma-sensei went with her, Ino chimed in. How's the baby? Katara asked. Even though they had known that Kunoichi was pregnant, she didn't really look like when they had seen her. Then again, it had been early spring and it was now mid to late summer. It's doing fine, Shikamaru answered. And where is the third one? Azula asked, looking around and not seeing him. Gai-sensei is off being Gai-sensei, Tenten answered a little evasively. He said something about running up and down the Hokage mountain 200 times in under 20 minutes or something like that, Niji explained, going where his teammate didn't want to go. YOSH! Exclaimed Lee. Gai-sensei is very youthful. I wish I could join him, but I wanted to meet our friends. Is that all you want to know, Azula? Sokka asked her. No. Where is Naruto? That question made everyone go silent. Naruto is, sleeping, Choji said, trying to come up with an excuse. Yeah, he's still asleep. He didn't finish, due to the fact Azula had grabbed him by the shirt and slammed him into a nearby wall, surprising everyone. Don't lie to me, she snarled, drawing back her fist and covering it in blue fire. Where is Naruto? Young lady, could you please put the Akimichi clan heir down? A man told her, coming from the entrance. I really don't want to explain to his parents how he became a piece of barbecued meat. She turned around to look at who was talking. She saw a tall man with white, spiky hair that fell to his waist. He wore a headband that was different from the others wore. It was horned and had a kanji on it. He wore green shirt and pants with a red vest over it. He wore hand guards and wooden sandals on his feet. On his back was a large scroll. On his face, he had red lines coming out from his eyes, almost as if he was crying blood. Who are you? She asked. He gave a small smile. That was when she got the feeling she should be afraid of this man. To be more precise, she should be very afraid of this man. I am the man who is asking you nicely to put him down, he told her. All right, fine. She let go of Choji, but still sent him a dirty look. I just want to know where Naruto is. Well, I guess it's a good thing I came here to take you and your group to him. He turned around and walked away. Coming? Who are you? She demanded. The name's Jiraiya. Now let's go already. Sheesh, I thought I was supposed to be the slow one at my age. You know, it figures. Naruto thought to himself. I get out of one prison only to wind up in another. He sat in the middle of the cell, his back to the bars. He had been changed out of his boiling rock prison clothes into the prison uniform of the Konoha jail, which was a bright orange jumpsuit. His hands were shackled to his sides so he couldn't form hand seals. And you used to have good luck, the QB commented. But still, we both should have realized what he had done before we went into that house. I got cocky and he used that to his advantage. It was bound to happen, sooner or later, he admitted. Personally, I had hoped they would try to do this after we dealt with Ozai. We wouldn't have had a deadline then. When have Konoha shinobi ever been considerate? Shouldn't I be asking you that question? You've known them longer. The sound of a rod banging on the cell got his attention, although he didn't show it. Hey, you little demon brat, the guard said, his voice sounding strangely high-pitched. Can you hear me? Unfortunately, yes. By the way, you really can't call me little demon brat anymore, he replied, not turning to face the guard. I'm not as little as I used to be. You think you're so funny, huh? I don't think. I know I'm funny. You just don't have a sense of humor. You little shit! The guard roared. I should come in and, what? Try to sodomize me like you tried before? Oh wait, are you using a sharpened stake this time? The blonde asked, cutting him off. I don't think your balls can take another stomping. What would your wife think of you if you went around, touching teenage boys like that? If it was the QB brat, I don't think she'd mind. That was when he felt the gaze of the Shinigami on his back. Turning around, he paled at the sight of Jiraiya. Lord Jiraiya, get out, he ordered, his arms folded and his expression angry. 2 simple words and the guard fled, but not before turning his angry gaze at both Jiraiya and Naruto. The rest of Team Avatar had felt some of what the guard was feeling, and that put them on edge. Clearly, the man in front of them was someone well known, and one not easily trifled with. So, how are you, Naruto? Jiraiya asked as he walked up to the cell bars. Kicking myself for not seeing something so blatantly obvious, the blonde answered without turning around to face them. You were under my nose the entire time and I didn't even notice. You're good, kid, I'll admit that. But you still have things to learn if you want to beat me, he told him with a big grin. I was truly impressed with how you played Boss Sing Se. That was very, very good work. You heard about it? He asked, sounding a little glad, strangely enough. And I read the report you sent to the Fire Lord. Hell, I was there when he received the report. You should have seen the look on his face. It was priceless. That would be a moment he would treasure for the rest of his life. Naruto, the 2 of you are making it sound like this. Jiraiya was there, Zuko said. That's because he was there, Zuko, Naruto told him. You should know better than us all right now. He was your servant. He finally turned around and looked Jiraiya straight in the eye. Isn't that right, huh? It only made the old man laugh. I see you figured it out. Wait, how is he, huh? Azula asked, looking at the man. He and the servant assigned to Zuko looked nothing alike. He used the Henj no Jutsu to disguise himself, and used a different name, Naruto explained. It should have been so obvious, considering he used that particular name. Why's that? Sokka asked. Ha means toad, right? Everyone in Team Avatar nodded. There are many stories here in the elemental countries. Quite a few of those stories are about the Sannin, the 3 students trained by the 3rd Hokage. This man? He gestured at Jiraiya with his head. He's one of those 3. His name is Lord Jiraiya, the Toad Sage of Konoha, student of the 3rd Hokage and sensei of the 4th Hokage. Pleasure to meet you, Jiraiya told them with a small bow of his head. When you say toads, Zuko said, do you mean like? He left the question hanging. Like the one I summoned back in Ba Sing Se? Zuko nodded. That was the chief of the toads. And I have Gamabunta to thank for getting me over there without you noticing, Jiraiya said, getting his attention. What? That's impossible. I put a block on my name. That had been the only thing that had kept him from being reverse summoned into Konoha hands. Yes, you did. But thankfully, the toads and I knew a loophole. It's true the toads can't reverse summon you if you didn't stay in the last location they knew you were at, like where you summoned Gamabunta. But what they could do is reverse summon someone to Mount Maiboku, and then reverse summon that same person to your last known location. So the toads called you back to Mount Maiboku, before sending you into Ba Sing Se, using the reverse summon both times. That way, they could send someone after me without breaking the oath I made them swear, the blonde finished. Yeah, that's about it. So you've been spying on me since Ba Sing Se? He asked, wanting to be sure. I was, until that invasion. You never changed, do you? All he got for an answer was a glare, which made him laugh. Anyway, after that, I kept my eye on the traitors here. He gestured at Azula and Zuko. There were times when I was nearly caught. I take it that you've had the pleasant chance of meeting our elder half-sister? Azula asked sarcastically. Jiraiya nodded. Yeah, Good thing I've met her kind of person before. Aang raised his hand to interrupt. Hey, about that move you did with the gas? I thought I was going to be mad for such an underhanded trick, but I want to say thanks for saving us. He looked at Aang and chuckled. Well, even if it was unintentional, you're welcome. Naruto looked at Jiraiya. So you know everything we're going through, correct? Correct. Then you couldn't have waited until after the comet? He demanded. We have a deadline, damn it. Relax, kid. You still have time, he replied, staying calm. Besides, I said the same thing, but Tsunade wanted you back now. The blonde narrowed his eyes. I take it she will want to see me as well as the council? Yes. When will it happen? Jiraiya pulled out a key. Now, he answered, opening the cell door. Naruto sighed and stood up. Well, let's go enjoy the fun. He walked out of the cell and looked at Team Avatar. Guys, there are a few things you need to do now, he told them. For the duration of this walk and the meeting, you are to let nothing show on your faces, you are to do nothing, and above all, you are to keep your mouths shut. He was talking to everyone, but his stare pinned Aang in place. Get it? Yeah, we got it, Toph answered. How hard was it to not say anything? She knew how to keep her mouth shut. Then we might as well get going. Take the lead, Jiraiya. He took Naruto by the arm and gently, but firmly led him out of the cell room. The others fell in behind. As they walked through the prison, the guards they came across would either try to glare at Naruto or outright ignore him. He started to recognize the symbol on the shoulders of the guards' shirts. That's when he realized that these weren't just guards and he wasn't in any normal prison. This is the building of the Konoha military police force, isn't it? He asked Jiraiya. Funny, I would have thought that it had fallen into disuse after that little incident involving the Uchiha. While the Uchiha did take up most of its members, the police force was not disbanded. The other members took up the slack until their strength was back to normal, Jiraiya informed him. You know, Sasuke has become a part-time member. Oh joy, just what I wanted to know. His voice laced with so much irony you could almost taste it. Where is Team Kakashi? Sokka asked. He hadn't seen any member of the team he had heard so little about, so he was a little curious. Tsunade sent them on a mission the day before I captured you all. It's supposed to take a month and a half to 2 months to finish. Less hassle, I suppose, Naruto commented. He didn't want to deal with them right now. They stopped in front of the main entrance, the doors barring them from the rest of the village, at least for the moment. Jiraiya let go of his arm and stepped in front of him. Are you ready? He asked Naruto. Of course not, the blonde answered. If I had my way, we wouldn't be here. Well, tough. Try not to escape as we walk to the Hokage building, okay? How could I escape? My hands are shackled to my sides and I'm wearing the prisoner uniform. He raised his hands slightly to emphasize his point. This is coming from the kid who could outrun and hide from ANBU squads while wearing a bright orange jumpsuit, the Toad Sage Drilly remarked. That was a long time ago, he said shortly, not wanting to remember those days. Gaki, you only get to say that when you're my age. Whatever. Let's just start the performance. Jiraiya opened the doors and they walked out into the village. Even though they had walked through it before to get to the police building, the village still astounded and awed the team. It looked nothing the cities of the Water Tribes, Earth Kingdom, or the Fire Nation, or even the temples of the Air Nomads. Those cities had looked like they had stood for thousands, if not millions of years. This place looked like it had been around for a while but also had things added on over time. It gave the place a kind of a patchwork look. And yet, it felt different as well. They could feel the vibe of life going through the village just by looking at the buildings. They felt that even though the places they had been to held living people, this place looked like it was alive itself, always growing and adding new things. When they looked at the people, they saw something else entirely. When the people of Konoha saw them, they could see the curiosity in their eyes. But when those eyes looked on Naruto, they could see the shock, the anger, the hate, and the fear in them. All around them, they could hear the whispers of he's back, as well as the demon brat, and they should kill him, amongst others. The whispers grew louder and louder, along with the glares of hatred and anger. When they turned onto the main street, the whispers and the glares intensified. Aang gulped and looked around in panic as 5 shopkeepers who were also curious to see the return of the demon brat clenched their knives, while one other villager who was carrying a hammer looked like he wanted to attack them but struggled to keep himself under control. Surprisingly, it was Toph who walked closer in case they tried anything. It was a move everyone saw and earned her the hateful glares as well. It was a civilian who threw the first stone, literally. The rock sailed through the air and clipped Naruto on the shoulder, making him stumble back. They would have done something, but the look he sent at them as he recovered stopped them. They weren't supposed to do anything, and they weren't supposed to say anything. Another rock flew out from the crowd, but a hand shot out and grabbed it before it hit him. He looked at the hand and then followed the arm up to the face, even though he knew who it was due to the green leotard the person wore. Lee stood in front of him, a smile on his face. He turned to where the rock had been thrown from. The smile disappeared from his face as he crushed in the rock in his hand. He held out the hand and opened it, letting the remnants fall to the ground. He then walked around behind Naruto. The rest of teams Kurenai, Guy and Asuma came out of the crowd. Not all at once, one or two would push their way out of the crowd and join the group. When Naruto saw them all behind him, he stopped walking. He got everyone's attention when he turned around and faced them. "What are you all doing?" he asked them. "What do you think we're doing, Naruto?" Kiba asked back with a big grin on his face. "We're your friends," Tenten told him. "Friends help and support each other." He groaned, loud enough for everyone in the street to hear him. "Go away," he ordered them all with a loud and firm voice. "You are not my friends. You're just people I may have to kill later." He turned back and kept on walking. The shinobi watched him and the others leave in sadness. The crowd just stared at his back in shock. Most of the Konoha 11, the best team of rookie shinobi Konoha had to offer, made up of the clan's heirs and exceptional shinobi, had shown their support for Naruto, and he had thrown it back in their faces. They had never seen such a thing before. "Did you have to do that, Naruto?" Jiraiya asked as they entered the Hokage building, getting away from the crowds. "Don't even start, Jiraiya," he retorted. "You don't think I would have known that was your idea? It just reeked of the Toad Sage's handiwork." "It might have been mine, but they wanted to do it," the old shinobi admitted. "They were trying to help. I don't want or need their help." He had been trying to make that clear ever since he met Team Kurenai in Omashu. The problem was that they weren't getting the picture. They went through the building in silence. When they stood in front of the doors leading to the council room, two members of ANBU stepped forward. "We'll take him now, Lord Jiraiya," the bear mask told him. He stepped aside and Naruto stepped forward. The ANBU took hold of each of his shoulders. Team Avatar took a step forward. The ANBU noticed. "I'm sorry, but the rest of you will have to stay out here," the hawk mask told them. "Not a word, Aang," Naruto ordered without looking at the monk. "Your status doesn't mean squat here." Aang, who had opened his mouth to protest, closed it. "All right then, let's go in, shall we?" he asked the two ANBU. "Remember, I'm relatively harmless." "Relatively harmless?" repeated Bear. "I can't kill you with my hands, but I can kill you with my feet." "Enough with the jokes, Naruto," Jiraiya told him. "He's not joking," Azula said, getting their attention. "He's done it before, to 5 different men, at the same time." Everyone looked at the blonde when they heard that. He just shrugged. "What can I say? They were assassins and I was training myself with a handicap." The ANBU said nothing, they just took him into the room and Jiraiya followed. The others just took a seat and waited. Aang was troubled. Not even in his years as the Avatar had he witnessed such hatred from ordinary people towards just one person. While he was troubled, it also made him curious about where the hatred came from. An idea did pop into his head, but a glance from Sokka had quashed it right away. Jiraiya had seen it too. Like Naruto said, your status here means nothing. They don't know that there is another continent across from the sea, so asking them directly for a background story won't help at all. In fact, trying to mediate will end badly, he told the kid. He turned to Toph, who barely reacted to what had happened back there. "So, what's your impression so far?" She shrugged but closed her eyes in frustration. "I can tell when someone is lying, whenever they lie, but the way they're trying to keep themselves in control is frightening. Like they wanted to attack us but were afraid of your reactions. Old grudges die hard." That was all he had to say about it. They walked Naruto to a chair and sat him down, removing the shackles on his hands off his sides and putting them on the arms of the chair. Once he was secured, they stepped away from the chair and into the shadows. "Do you understand why you are here, Naruto Uzumaki?" Tsunade asked him from where she sat, above the rest of the councils. "Of course I do," he answered. "What do you think the reasoning is?" Because a bunch of inconsiderate shinobi assholes from Konoha don't know the meaning of the word no, he said with a completely straight face. Watch your mouth, brat. One of the civilian councilmen yelled at him. You will be respectful to Lady Tsunade. He looked at the councilman, then at the rest of the civilian council, and then at Tsunade. Is this a new group? Last time I checked, the civilian council didn't give two shits about you. Heck, they wanted my head on a stick. Be quiet. Another councilman roared, standing up from his chair. Answers that question. It's a new council all right, he remarked, ignoring the two angry councilmen. Although how long will it take until they become as corrupt as the previous batch? I'm starting to miss the sound of the shouting from the ones who wanted me dead. We are not here to discuss the Hokage's choices for the civilian council, Inoichi, Ino's father and head of the Yamanaka clan, declared from where he sat to the right of Tsunade. Are you sure about that? They were the ones who spearheaded my last trial. Those councilmen have been imprisoned for their crimes, including the ones against you, Naruto. Choza, head of the Akimichi clan and Choji's father, told him, sitting to the left of Inoichi. However, Konoha almost descended into anarchy because of it, and we're still unsure as to who is the mastermind behind the riots. Besides, this isn't a trial, Kiba's mother and head of the Onizuka clan, Sum said, sitting close to Inoichi. Now that I have a hard time believing, Naruto declared. And what is so hard to believe about it? Hayashi, head of the Hyuga clan, Hinata's father and Niji's uncle, asked him from where he sat. Well, let's see here. I'm strapped to a chair, I've left Konoha, I've been found, captured, and now you all are sitting on high and are waiting to condemn me, he said. He would have counted the points off of his fingers, if he could do that. On top of that, even if the charges against me were dropped, I still left the village on my own accord, so that technically makes me a missing nin, and thereby sentenced to death upon capture. Naruto Uzumaki, we are not here to condemn you, despite your valid claims about being a missing nin. We are here to reinstate you as a Konoha shinobi, Shikaku, head of the Nara clan and Shikamaru's father, told him. He sat next Hayashi in a slightly slumped position. No thanks, the blonde automatically said. Seriously, what part of no do you people do not understand? Our understanding of the word is fine, the head of the Aburayan clan and Shino's father, Shibi said from where he sat to the right of Hayashi. We thought it would be logical that you would be happy to return. Wow, you really are that stupid. Pup, the bending countries have been in a war for the past century. Sim told him angrily. I know, I've been fighting in it, and I'm sure you know I've defected. Now I'm helping the idiot and his team out. He made it sound like nothing was wrong. You are safer here, Choza told him. But I was happier over there, and free too. He looked at all of them slowly, glaring hard. Over there, I was Naruto. I wasn't the demon brat, the Kyuubi brat, or the monster. People didn't look at me with contempt, hatred, or fear for that. And now you want to take that away from me, all in the name of keeping me safe? And you wonder why I left in the first place. Enough, Tsunade said before anyone could speak. The decision is not up for debate. You will become a Konoha shinobi again, Naruto. You can't make me become a shinobi, he told her. I have the right to choose if I want to be one or not. Of course you do. And if you choose not to become a Konoha shinobi, you will be imprisoned to ensure your safety. If that should happen, your friends will be allowed to leave, she told him. The expression on her face was completely professional when she spoke. But he knew what she was silently saying. You heartless bitch. Why not just throw me to those same wolves who want me dead in the first place? He knew full well that neither Azula nor the rest would just leave him alone. They would try to break him out. The problem was that if he was imprisoned, Tsunade would be expecting it and be prepared for it. They might be able to succeed in breaking him free, but if Aang told them not to kill anyone, a few of them wouldn't make it out alive. The shinobi would be prepared to kill them if they tried it. He also wouldn't want them to try to get him out if that was going to be the outcome. Tsunade had him trapped, and they both knew it. Do you really hold my own happiness in contempt? The two of them just stared at each other in silence. The rest of the councils weren't so quiet. The civilian council and some members of the shinobi council stood up and yelled at him, demanding that he should apologize or to be silent. Jiraiya just stood against the wall with an amused grin. This went on for about 5 minutes, until Tsunade blew a piercing whistle, silencing them. Are you all done now? She asked. But Lady Hokage, a councilwoman, protested. He called you a, I know what he called me. I do have ears, she replied, cutting the councilwoman off. She turned her attention back to Naruto. Regardless, those are your two choices. Now, which one will it be? It's not like I have a good choice either way, he replied with slumped shoulders. Fine, I'll become a Konoha shinobi again. There was a sigh of relief that rippled through the people in the room, particularly Jiraiya and Tsunade. Then I'm signing you up for the Chunin exams. Your teammates will. I'll pick my own teammates, he interrupted her. And why would you do that? Jiraiya asked, the first time he spoke during the meeting. I work better with people I know. Besides, you wouldn't want to find the two Konoha genin you assigned to me mysteriously dead, do you? He asked with a cold smile. They understood what he meant, even though he didn't outright say it. If they put two genin with him for the exams, he would kill them when he had the chance, without hesitation. Very well, you may choose your teammates, Tsunade stated. The exams begin tomorrow at the academy. Great. Can I go now? He asked, shaking the shackles. She nodded. The two ANBU stepped out of the shadows and unshackled his arms. Jiraiya will take you to your housing and will give you the application forms later, she told him. He didn't reply. He just walked out of the room behind Jiraiya. Well, that was uncomfortable, Inoichi stated. He had heard the reports of how the blonde was different, but they didn't really come to him until just now. He doesn't seem to hold us in high regard, Hayashi said sadly. Yet he also felt ashamed to have held the same mindset as the villagers who held Naruto in contempt, even forbidding Hinata from becoming friends with him when they were young. Can you blame him? Shikaka asked the Hyuga clan head. He ran away from us and after 3 years, he's brought back against his will and is told to either become a shinobi or be imprisoned. I wouldn't really hold us in high regard either. I think we can all agree that the pup has changed, some stated. Nobody disagreed, but Tsunade stood up and looked at the clan heads. We have to be prepared in case another riot occurs. I have a nasty feeling that if we left this unresolved, we will face a full-scale civilian rebellion, and we cannot afford any distractions while a similar war to the previous shinobi wars will break out, she warned them all before dismissing them. They walked out of the Hokage building and back down the street. The people in the street ignored them this time around, even though there was the occasional glare thrown at Naruto. So how did the meeting go? Suki asked as they walked down the street. I've been blackmailed into becoming a shinobi again, Naruto answered, sounding very annoyed with what happened. To make things worse, I've also been signed up for the Chunin exams and I need 2 teammates. Who are you going to choose? Azula asked. She didn't know what that it was, but she guessed it was some kind of tournament. Not Aang or Katara, that's for sure. Why not? Asked an annoyed Katara. Death is involved in these exams. If my teammates don't have what it takes to kill someone, then they're not going to be much help. Last time I checked, your team managed to make it through the Chunin exams without killing anyone, Jiraiya told him. That was sheer dumb luck. The blonde kept walking and thinking over his options. Toph's out of the question too. This kind of thing needs finesse and quite frankly, she doesn't have that. No complaints here, Toph said. I'm considering this my mini-vacation. No way am I doing any exams. She was just going to relax. So, then Sokka will be one of my teammates, he decided. Why's that? Zuko asked. His skill with the Jien and Boomerang will come in handy, as well as his training with the bending forms. Also, Akela will be a great help if we come up against any Inuzuka clan members. Thanks, Naruto, Sokka told him, feeling proud for the praise. And who'll be your second teammate? Azula asked Naruto. Zuko, he answered. He looks intimidating, he's a master with those Dao swords, and he's good with seeing what people are really going to do. That's it. And I don't want to put you in that kind of danger, not if I can help it, he admitted after a moment of silence. Ah, that's so sweet, the more romantic minds of the group thought. Who knew you would have a way with girls, Naruto? And you've got a nice one too, Jiraiya commented with a big grin. Just keep walking, you pervert, the blonde told him with a scowl. I'm not a pervert, he replied with indignation. I'm a super pervert. Could you please repeat that? Suki asked in calm and deadly voice. The rest of the girls had similar thoughts. Suki, trust me, Naruto said to the Kyoshi warrior. If you think you'll be able to make him reconsider his ways, it won't matter. This guy has been on the receiving end of many beatings from angry women and has always bounced back. He regularly peeps at women in the bathhouse and in the hot springs here. You make it sound like I peep on every woman in there, Jiraiya commented. You mean you don't? He was surprised to hear that little tidbit of information. I have standards, Naruto. I don't peep on any girls who are under 16. He actually sounded a little offended. But before anyone could say anything in response, he stopped in front of a building. We're here. Naruto looked up at the building, looked at Jiraiya, then back at the building. You cannot be serious, he finally said. Very. I think I'd rather be back at the prison. Too bad, because you're staying here, he stated before he grabbed the blonde by the arm and essentially dragged him into the building that Naruto had once lived in. This place is different, he declared as Jiraiya let go of his arm, looking around the ground floor. This was a lobby the last time I checked, not a living room. Well, I think it looks pretty neat, Suki declared, looking around. It was big and comfy looking, with enough sofas and couches to make it look like it was a place to relax at the end of the day. Not even the finest luxury homes in Ba Sing Se would match the kind of setup that this place has in here. The new tenants had the entire place renovated. It's more like a mansion than an apartment building now, Jiraiya explained. New tenants? Repeated Naruto, surprised by that. What new tenants? The place didn't really have any tenants when he had been living there. The Konoha 11 live here now. Hey, where are you going? He asked as Naruto started walking out of the building. Back to the prison, I'll stay there, he answered. Jiraiya grabbed his arm again, stopping him. I am not staying here. Yes, you are, he told him. If you don't like it, you can get over it. Now come on. The blonde was frog marched up the stairs and to the door that led to his apartment. Here's your key, Jiraiya said, handing him said key. He gave a sigh of defeat. He wasn't going to win this one. Fine, he said as he put the key in the lock and unlocked the door. Can we come inside? Katara asked, curious to see what Naruto's old apartment looked like. No, Jiraiya told them as the blonde walked into the apartment and closed the door behind him. Let's leave him to be reacquainted with his old home. He ushered them back down the stairs and into the living room. So Kiba and the others really live here? Sokka asked as he sat down in a sofa. How did that happen? It started out with Sasuke, the Toad Sage started. He wanted to get away from his clan's compound and the bad memories there. He heard that this building was to be demolished, and since he didn't want Naruto to be homeless when he came back, he used the clan's money to buy the entire building. He took one of the rooms and started to live there. Sakura soon joined him so he wouldn't feel so lonely, and Shikamaru followed, wanting to get out away from his house and live on his own for a bit. Kiba was the next one to join them, followed by Hinata. Niji began living here on Hayashi's orders to keep an eye out on Hinata. Pretty soon, the rest of the Konoha 11 had started living here and had the place renovated. So, what should we do now? Tofast? You guys slept late due to the knockout gas. It's about late afternoon, why don't you go look around the main street? You might find something interesting. He made his way over to the front door. Where are you going? Katara asked him with a suspicious look. I have to go see the Hokage about some things, he answered without looking back. You kids enjoy yourselves. He opened the door and walked out onto the streets. They gather around one of the couches. Should we leave Naruto alone? Aang asked the rest of the team. It's probably best if we do, Azula answered him. I think he wants to be alone right now. She knew enough of her bodyguard to know what he was thinking, most of the time. So what, we do as the old guy suggested and take a look around the village? Tofast? If we're gonna be here for a while, we might as well get to know the place, Sokka told her. He held Aang back after the others began to leave. Aang, just follow our lead, and don't do anything stupid. I'm already scared enough, Sokka, Aang admitted. Sokka patted him in the shoulder, and both boys rejoined the group. Let's go then. We come back to see Naruto later, Zuko said. They walked out of the building, intent on exploring where they were stuck now, for that was what they were stuck. Naruto closed the door behind him and looked around the place. Because of him being arrested and leaving soon afterwards, he had left the place somewhat messy. Now, it looked like it had been cleaned recently. So, who had the guts to come in here and clean up? He wondered aloud as he walked through the apartment. He walked into the kitchen, which looked spotless. He opened the fridge and looked inside. It was stocked with fresh food that had been bought recently. It looks like nothing's expired, he remarked, closing the fridge door. He walked over to the pantry and opened it up. Fresh food was also stocked there, along with plenty of something else. That is a lot of ramen, the QB declared as he looked at the abundance of instant ramen cups. They probably thought you would be craving the stuff after being away from it for 3 years. He didn't say anything in response. He just closed the pantry door and walked out of the kitchen. He made his way over to the bedroom. The room looked like the rest of the apartment, cleaned. The sheets on the bed even looked freshly laundered. Clothes lay on the bed, neatly folded and freshly pressed, along with a familiar-looking headband. I guess they knew you were coming, the fox commented. Are you not going to say anything, Naruto? They kept the CD player, he finally spoke, looking at said player. I'd figured they would have thrown it out, considering how old it is. It's not that old. You bought it when you were 10. He reached for the stack of CDs next to the player, and picked up the one on the top. He looked at it before turning on the player. He opened up the case, took the disc out, put it into the player and hit the play button. As the song began to play, he put the case down and sat down against the wall. He closed his eyes and listened to the music as well as the lyrics. I am a question to the world, not an answer to be heard, or a moment that's held in your arms. And what do you think you'd ever say? I won't listen anyway. You don't know me, and I'll never be what you want me to be. And what do you think you'd understand? I'm a boy, no, I'm a man. You can't take me and throw me away. And how can you learn what's never shown? Yeah, you stand here on your own. They don't know me, 'cause I'm not here. And I want a moment to be real. Wanna touch things I don't feel. Wanna hold on and feel I belong. And how can the world want me to change? They're the ones that stay the same. They don't know me, 'cause I'm not here. And you see the things they never see. All you wanted I could be. Now you know me and I'm not afraid. And I want to tell you who I am. Can you help me be a man? They can't break me, as long as I know who I am. And I want a moment to be real. Wanna touch things I don't feel. Wanna hold on and feel I belong. How can the world want me to change? They're the ones that stay the same. They can't see me, but I'm still here. They can't tell me who to be, 'cause I'm not what they see. Yeah, the world is still sleeping, while I keep on dreaming for me. And their words are just whispers and lies, that I'll never believe. And I want a moment to be real. Wanna touch things I don't feel. Wanna hold on and feel I belong. And how can they say I'll never change? They're the ones that stay the same. I'm the one now, 'cause I'm still here. I'm the one, 'cause I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here. As the song ended, he reached out and turned the player off. He didn't move from where he sat. You always did enjoy listening to that song, the QB said. He had lost count of the number of times his Jinchuriki had played that song. It always seemed to describe my life perfectly, he replied. I felt like the song was created for me. What about now? I'm not sure. My life has changed, but when I listen to that song, it feels like it hasn't changed at all. He gave a bitter chuckle. How ironic, people would lie to me and keep secrets from me. Now I'm doing the same things to my friends. He stood up and walked to the balcony door. Kit, what are you doing? I'm going to see a couple of people. He opened the door and walked into the balcony, looking down at the people below. We're probably not thinking of the same people, are we? The fox asked him. Probably not, he admitted before jumping over the railing and into the air. Tsunade sat at her desk, looking over some paperwork, when she felt a familiar presence. Jiraiya, get in here, she ordered without looking up. He entered through the window. Was it necessary to sign him up for the Chunin exams? He asked her, looking at the back of her chair. If it were up to me, I'd promoted him as soon as he took the offer, she replied. But both the councils want to evaluate him. So made a deal. If he makes it to the 3rd stage and at least to the semi-final round, he'll be given the rank. You know that he'll want to go back once the exams are over, he said, walking around to face her directly. And I will make it a mission. He and the members of the Konoha 11 here will be able to go back to the bending countries and stop the Fire Lord as well as help with the aftermath. And once that is all done, he will come back, the Hokage stated as they finally faced one another. And if he refuses? He asked her. He has friends over there, Tsunade. He's got a girlfriend too, if I'm not mistaken. He won't just leave them and never come back. He's not like that and we both know it. If he refuses to come back to the village voluntarily, the Konoha 11 will have orders to knock him unconscious and bring him back. He'll just escape like the last time, he told her. No, he won't. If he must be brought back forcefully, I will have no choice but to erase his memories of the past 3 years, she told him in a calm voice. What? He shouted, sounding completely surprised by that. Tsunade, you can't implant false memories in that long a period. He's likely to go mad from that. I will not implant memories. I will simply tell him that his fight with Sasuke left him in a coma that lasted 3 years. What about the Kyuubi? It'll be likely that the fox will try to bring back those memories. We'll simply tell Naruto not to trust anything that the Kyuubi says, she answered, never losing the voice. She made it sound like she wasn't doing anything wrong. Tsunade, you can't do all of this. You can't do this to him. 3 years, Jiraiya, she said, her voice showing a small amount of emotion. We've both wanted him back for 3 years. Now that he's back, I'm not letting him go. He is ours, no one else's. And if I must wipe his mind clean of 3 years of his life to keep him here, so be it. Are you doing this for Naruto? Or so the village can have its weapon back? She stood up and slapped him hard across the face. Never say something like that again, do you understand? Never again. I would not do all of this just so I could treat Naruto like a weapon. I want my Gaki back and I will do whatever it takes to keep him. She sat back down in the chair. Leave, she ordered him. He left without saying a word. This place is incredible, Aang declared as they walked down the main street. I know, Suki agreed, looking around. There are so many things to see. It's so different from the places we've been to, Katara commented. It's so lively. The nightlife seemed to have a pulse of its own compared to what it was like during the day. But it was only the beginning of the night, and they hadn't seen much of the day. I can't imagine why Naruto would want to leave this place, Aang said. Details just seemed to leap out at them as they walked through the street. People seemed to be happy and laughing, unaware of any war going on the other side of the planet. Sometimes the streets were clustered and sometimes they were wide. Aang, remember the glares he got earlier today? Sokka asked. If he had to deal with that while growing up, I would probably leave too. Still, the others seemed determined to bring him back, Toph said as she took a turn around a tree. It might not have been entirely bad for him. I wondered what happened that made him leave, Zuko said. Naruto's been able to take anything that's been thrown at him. What in Agni's name would make him leave and never want to come back? Maybe we can ask them, Azula said, pointing down a particular street. The others looked and saw Kiba, Akamaru, and Ino. The three also saw them. Perfect timing, Ino declared as she ran up to them. Quick, follow us. Why? Zuko asked. We're throwing a surprise welcome back for Naruto, Kiba quickly explained. You guys can help him ease in better. They all looked at each other. It didn't sound like that bad of an idea. Alright, where's the party at? Sokka asked. Follow us. Ino told them before quickly walking away with Kiba and Akamaru right behind her. They quickly followed them through the streets until they finally stopped in front of what looked like a restaurant. What is this place? Aang asked them as he examined the place. It wasn't a huge place, just a modest one. Welcome to Ichiraku Ramen, Kiba announced as they walked in. I guess Naruto told all about this place. Actually, no he hasn't, Azula replied as they sat down. The place had been renovated as well, thanks to the Konoha 11 paying for said renovations, making the place big enough for 20 or so people to be seated comfortable. You're kidding, Choji said as he looked at her along with the rest of the Konoha 11 there, sitting along the bar. Naruto's never told you about this place? That's what I said. Did he tell you about ramen at least? Niji asked with a little concern in his voice. What is ramen? Zuko asked. I guess it's some kind of dish, Sokka said. What gave it away? Toph asked sarcastically. Kami, they're not kidding, Tenten said. They never would have thought this could have happened. Hey, Mr. Tucci, called out Kiba, getting the attention of the man and his daughter. We need 7 bowls of miso ramen, stat. It's coming, Tucci told him as he and Ayam made the ramen. Why would you guys be surprised that Naruto wouldn't tell us about some kind of food? Aang asked, clearly confused by what they were saying. Because ramen was the only thing Naruto practically ate, Shikamaru answered. Whenever he had the chance to eat out, he would always come here, Tucci told them. He was our favorite customer, Ayam agreed. Which is why we're having the party here, Hinata finished up the explanation. Why here? Sokka asked. We left Naruto at his apartment. Ah, but you don't know Naruto like we do, Ino told him with a sly wink. He won't stay there. He'll leave and come straight here. So, you're planning to ambush him once he walks in, is that it? Azula asked. She was having doubts about their little plan. It's not ambushing, Shino defended. It is welcoming an old friend back by knowing where he'll go. Of course it is. The sarcasm in her voice was blatant and obvious. Here's your ramen, Tucci announced, handing out bowls. Considering it's your first time here, this one's on the house. Dig in. Team Avatar took the bowls and a pair of chopsticks each. They were hesitant at first, but Suki raised the noodles to her mouth and ate them. This is good, she declared after she swallowed the noodles. The rest of them started eating and agreed with her. They could understand why Naruto kept coming back to this place. Zuko was about to ask them something when Hinata spoke. He's coming, she announced with her Byakugan showing. He's walking down the street and heading this way. Is everyone ready? Kiba asked, looking around and seeing that everyone was in position. Of course, we are ready to give our youthful friend a welcome back party, Lee declared. Keep it down, Lee, Tenen hissed in his ear. They didn't need to blow the surprise early. Wait, something's not right, Hinata said as she watched Naruto. What's the matter? Shino asked her. He's seen it, but he's not slowing down. He's walking right past it. What? Are you sure? Ino asked. That wasn't right. He was supposed to come here. Niji activated his Byakugan to double-check. She's right. He hasn't stopped. Then where is he going? Kiba demanded. Naruto stared up the building. Been a while since I've been here, he thought. Not being on the same continent for 3 years will do that for you, the QB commented with a small amount of sarcasm. You do realize that you're going to be smacked repeatedly once you go in, right? I'm expecting it. He walked up to the door and looked over at the bouncer. Hey, Bull, he greeted the man. Bull was like his namesake, big and bulky. He was also silent. He rarely spoke, so people were usually surprised when he did. He looked down at Naruto, and his gaze hardened. Can I go in? The blonde asked. He stared at him for a second longer before nodding once. He thumped on the door twice. It opened and a beautiful young woman opened it. What is it, Bull? She asked. He jerked his head at Naruto, and she turned to look at him. The worried look she had turned to anger, and before he could say anything, she smacked hard him across the face and sending him to the ground. How dare you, she said. Nice to see you again too, AI, he replied, getting back up. His cheek all but vibrated with the pain. You have a lot of nerve showing your face here after what you did. I had to leave. You couldn't say goodbye, she demanded, her anger showing in her voice. We both know the answer to that, he replied. Tell that to Mama? Actually, that's why I'm here. What? She was genuinely surprised to hear. I came here to explain myself and talk to Mama, he told her, making sure each and every one of his words were clear. You're serious? She asked him. Yes, I am. She fell silent, and then turned around. Come on in. She walked back in. He followed and Bull closed the door behind him. From across the street, both Team Avatar and most of the Konoha 11 watched as he entered the building. How can he go there of all places? Demanded Ino. What's wrong with it? Sokka asked. It's a restaurant, right? How can you think it's a restaurant? She asked back, making it sound like he was an idiot. He pointed up at the sign. It says the meat bar. Well, you're kinda right, flustered Choji said. It is like a restaurant, but not quite. You're not making any sense, Toph told him. It was either a restaurant or it wasn't. That was how the blind earthbender saw it. Not all meats are for eating, Kiba said, trying to be polite about it. Now you aren't making any sense. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered to himself. The place is both a restaurant and a brothel. The name refers to the fact that you can get different kinds of meat in there, and just the ones for eating, he explained. The entire team, save for Azula, was flabbergasted. You can do that? Sokka asked with a stunned voice. It's rare, but yeah. And Naruto just went in there? Aang asked. That was a little disturbing to even think about. You saw the same thing we did, Shino told him. How can Naruto be this unyouthful? Lee demanded in an angry voice. What are you talking about? Azula asked him. You can't see this? He just went into a brothel, Ino told her. She shrugged her shoulders. So? It's not like this is the first time he's done it. What? Screamed the Konoha 11. Obviously, they took it the wrong way. What do you mean he's done this before? Katara asked as well. Just he goes into a brothel doesn't mean he's going to sleep with anyone there, she told them pointedly. It's possible that he has to apologize for something, if that smack was anything to go by. And just how would you know that? Niji asked. I already told you, this is not the first time he's done something like this, she repeated herself. Besides, he wouldn't betray me like that. What do you mean? Hinata asked, a little nervous by how she had said those words. We love each other. Everyone there, except for Zuko, who thought it was plain as day, was stunned by that simple statement. While all the girls were wondering how that happened, all the guys, except Aang, who didn't really know what to make of it, and Shikamaru, who thought it was too troublesome, had one thought, which was lucky bastard. Now what are you all doing here? Jiraiya's voice asked from behind them, making them jump in surprise. They all turned to see the Toad Sage standing behind them with a questioning look on his face. We weren't doing anything, Aang quickly assured him. Of course you weren't, he replied with a deadpan voice. Then he looked at what they were looking at. Ah, the meat bar. I have such good memories of that place. He turned his gaze back on them. Why are you even looking at that place? Most of you are too young to even think about going in there. We're not going in there, but Naruto did, Kiba told him. Did he now? He looked back at the building. I want you all to do something for me. What's that, Lord Jiraiya? Hinata asked him, being respectful to the man. Go home. Get some sleep. He looked over at Team Avatar. You guys go back to the tree house and rest up. The two of you are going to need it, he told Zuko and Sokka, making Akela growl slightly. Sorry, the three of you are going to need it, he amended. Here are your application forms, just make sure to sign your name at the bottom. He handed them the forms. Now scoot. I'll have a talk with Naruto. Are you sure, Lord Jiraiya? Tenten asked. Of course, I'm sure. Go on, get out of here. They walked away down the opposite direction of the street. After a few minutes of silence, the old shinobi walked up to the door of the meat bar. Bull, he greeted the bouncer. May I go in? Bull nodded his head and opened the door for him. He gave a nod of thanks and walked in. Later that night, Zuko, Sokka, and Akela were asleep in their rooms. The sound of the window opening woke them up, but they feigned sleep so that they could throw off whoever was in the room with them. Would the three of you knock it off? Naruto's voice told them. I know that you're awake, so stop faking it. They opened their eyes and sat up, turning on the light at their bedsides while Akela simply raised his head. They saw Naruto sitting in a chair with the back facing them, and his arms draped over it. Hanging from his mouth was something that Sokka had seen before. Naruto, why do you have a cigarette in your mouth? He asked, remembering the word for it. I've started smoking, he answered, taking a drag and blowing the smoke away from them. When did that happen? About an hour or so ago, he said. Quite frankly, after dealing with you guys and the things you do, I need it. I thought that was dangerous to your lungs or something like that, the tribesman asked, trying to remember the brief conversation he had with Asuma about them. It is, the blonde admitted. But I get all the benefits of smoking without getting any of the downsides. How is that possible? That's a secret. Why are you here, Naruto? Zuko asked him. I'm here about the Chunin exams, he answered, turning serious. Did you guys sign the forms? Yes, both of us did. He gestured to himself and Sokka. Good, then we can get down to brass tacks. What do you mean? To put it simply, I am going to talk about tactics for the Chunin exam. The two of you. He stopped when Akela somehow managed to scowl at him and slightly bared his teeth. Sorry, the three of you are going to listen and then share opinions. Are there any objections? They didn't answer that question, there was no need. They had none.